Welcome back to another reaction stream, looking ahead to Gameweek 23 and discussing all the action of Gameweek 22 so far. I was only a few hours ago since we did a deadline stream and everything was merry in the world, but it has been a disappointing start to the Gameweek. 21 points, and it's kind of the same old usual stuff on the Saturday. Poor start, and hopefully the Sunday can bail me out, but it's just not been a great season overall FPL-wise, and even in terms of clubs, you could say. But let's delve into your questions and comments as always. Let's have a good time, if that's even possible. And if you are doing poorly, maybe this could work as a bit of FPL therapy, so to speak. Maybe I should rename myself to FPL therapy, actually, or therapist. So, welcome to Easy99. He says 14 points of 7 players to play. Disappointed with Salah captain. Yeah, poor score at the moment, but you've only had 4 players actually feature. 7 left. All depends which players we're talking about, but I wouldn't look too much into it. Of course, this is a knee-jerk / reaction stream, so we're giving our off-the-cuff thoughts, what's changed over the Saturday, and some transfer plans are already developing for me. I'm looking to buy 2 more Liverpool players, potentially take a hit, and I don't have much wiggle room in terms of budget. So at the moment, if I wanted to buy Gakpo and Trent, I would have nothing left in the bank, and it does require some big sacrifices, and one of them could be Gabriel at the back, which means in the space of 2 game weeks, I basically remove all my Arsenal players. 1.3 million managers captain Isak, 3.9 million managers captain Salah. Yeah, I'm fairly surprised about Salah blanking, especially Liverpool scoring twice. He's got a great record against them. Before today, it was 6 goals in 6 games with 1 assist. But yeah, Salah back-to-back blanks now for him. I still think he's the best captaincy option for Gameweek 24. And even next week, it's between him and Isak again on paper. But football is full of surprises. Sold Havertz for Mateta for a hit, worked brilliantly. Yeah, Havertz thankfully scored today, but Jean-Philippe Mateta, I mentioned this earlier, if you go back to my deadline stream, I had a good feeling about him. For him to score a brace, I mean, fair play to those that went for that, and I do like Mateta overall. It's just with Cody Gakpo having the double, he was my preference to buy this week, but more so in Gameweek 23, which is going to be very popular. 35 points with 4 to go, hope Palmer doesn't play. A bit strange as a Chelsea fan. I think Palmer's your best chance of getting actual points on the board, but I get you. He's playing bad in 2H of every recent game anyway. Look, I still think Palmer will feature. I think he's going to start the game against Wolves. I haven't changed my mind about that since the deadline stream earlier. I could be wrong though, and if Colwell doesn't start, I've got Veltman off my bench, and so far my transfers aren't looking great. I bought Gordon for Ismail Assar. Not really too bad in that respect, and I do like Gordon next week against Southampton away. Long-term hold, arguably, but I could have just started Semenyo, and once again I benched some of his points. It's nothing new there, but yeah, defensively I'm still looking quite weak, and if I want to buy Trent and also Gakpo, unfortunately it means Gabriel is being removed, and despite 4 blanks in a row, and Arsenal's weakness is defensively, no Saliba today, I still would rather keep Gabriel if possible, but I might have to just take the plunge, take a hit, and go for Trent Alexander-Arnold. Batman says, hope you didn't rage, Dylan. I actually didn't today. I did last week, that's putting it lightly, but today I was kind of numb to it, and I felt that quite a few times, you know, even against Brentford when we went 1-0 down, I was like, okay, whatever. Brighton as well. How are you feeling after your club's masterclass? No hate. Yeah, look, I have to say kind of indifferent. It's not just been Arsenal's season. I think the overall play hasn't been good enough. The injuries, all the stuff, the BS suspensions earlier. So I'm kind of just resigned to it now. And look, Liverpool are having a great season, but I do think they will slip up, drop points, but no one else is going to capitalise, unfortunately. Cyril, if I can get your question up. Unfortunately, the chat has skipped you here. I sold Havertz for Gakpo, and I also considered getting Mateta in. Also, my highest scorer is Castagna. I've actually got Castagna in FPL Challenge, but yeah, it doesn't really mean much, does it? That's fairly good, though. I do like Gakpo. He's an upgrade on Havertz for the next couple, and you could use him as a placeholder for Cunha around Gameweek 26. So, yeah, it might not have paid off yet, but facing Ipswich Town next, then the double, you'd expect Gakpo to start 2 of those 3 games. I'd be fairly confident. 12 points right now. Yeah, there could be a lot of low scores at the moment, but a lot of players left on the Sunday. And of course, maybe a couple on the Monday, depending on how many Chelsea and Wolves players you have. So I'd still be fairly confident. Welcome, Geotip. Good to see you. Easy99 says Sells, Mazraoui, Gavardio, Enzo, Palmer, Wood, Haaland still not playing. Yeah, look, that's a fairly good list, and I think Haaland could be a great shout. He was ranked, I think, third in my captaincy list behind Salah and Palmer. He might end up outscoring both of them. Is it time to get Kluivert? I was not bullish on him when he scored that hat-trick against Wolves, and despite the fact the XG of today's hat-trick was 0.34, still very impressive to do that against Newcastle away from home. He's definitely on the agenda for a lot of people. If you don't have a Bournemouth attacker, I would be looking to invest in one of them. Semenyo, Kluivert. Not so much Ouattara, although he's playing up front, he'll get a lot of chances. I think he's quite wasteful. But Kluivert being on penalties would probably lean me towards him. I'm not a massive fan of him overnight, I'm going to be honest, but I'm much more keen on him now than I was, let's say, a few weeks ago when he scored his first Premier League hat-trick. Third, Liverpool is difficult, says JC. First sub, Havertz, Palmer out. I don't think Palmer will be benched. I think he's going to start. And hopefully, well, actually, no, I don't want him to do anything. Sar 2, depends on your budget, mate, but I went to Gordon today. Hasn't really paid off at all. But in the coming weeks, I think one of Semenyo or Kluivert could be a very good investment. Not necessarily this week, although Semenyo got, I think he scored actually in the reverse fixture against Forest back in Gameweek 1. So here's the thing, I wanted Gordon badly, so I sold Gabriel to Konate for funds because I don't trust Arsenal defensively again, even with Saliba, and did Rodgers to Gordon. In the end, Konate helped me. Yeah, sometimes I think FPL can be like a domino effect. One decision affects others in terms of budget and transfers, and it can go for you sometimes, and on other occasions it goes against you, but you got to take the rough with the smooth, and in this case it worked out fairly decent for you. Kirk is in first sub with Enzo and Palmer flagged. There is a chance for you, but I just temper your expectations because it's still likely or possible that Enzo and Palmer start and then Kirkes remains on your bench, but yeah, you live in hope, don't you? Where are you, bro? Come fast. Well, I'm just letting the intro play out, also setting up the scenes because I didn't have much time to set things up, to be honest. I did things very quickly in terms of, you know, the thumbnails, the actual video, the description, all the graphics and stuff. So yeah, it's not like I just turn on my laptop and that's it. There's a bit more to it. Alex says, hola, good to see you. Hey Dylan, did you make a UCL fantasy video for the week? Not yet. The plan is to record a few tomorrow and on Monday, but you might have to wait a little bit because well, one, there's all the research. There's some injury problems across Europe, like Pulisic, who picked up a problem only a couple of days ago, and he missed today's game against Juventus. So that's going to be slightly concerning. He was in my plans for the best limitless and wildcard teams. Now, I obviously had to look at alternatives. I think everyone is doing poor this game week. Not everyone, but yeah, a lot of people in the live chat, probably. But like Jose says, 43 points, that's fairly decent, right? And Palmer and Wood to play. Yeah, so I always say this, I'd rather have points on the board than players in hand. That's a good score. Good players left. Let's see what happens. But yeah, I think Sunday will be very interesting to say the least. I wonder about transferring Sarr to Eze or Raya to Alisson. What do you think? Yeah, Alisson's a good option for the double, but not my favourite. I'd rather go for Pickford. And long term, I think Sells is the best goalkeeper. Sarr to Eze might seem a bit sideways, but Eze's been so consistent in recent weeks. Sarr's been kind of hit and miss, and he had that minor hamstring problem. Did it affect him today? Maybe. But he was fit enough to start. He played a lot of minutes. Yeah, I think that's a good option, but I'd rather invest in different players there. Even Anthony Gordon this week against Southampton away, I still think he's the fourth best midfielder in the game. Mbeumo would be third. Salah and Palmer obviously top two. Then you've got the Bournemouth attackers like Semenyo and Kluivert, who might be worth investment in a couple of weeks' time. But if you are making a transfer now to replace Sarr, Eze's decent, to be fair. I'm on 34 points of Aina, Palmer and Wood to play, so hopefully I can get a green arrow. Yeah, I'll be honest, it seems very difficult to judge, you know, how many points we need to get a green arrow this week. It's a bit all over the place. Some people might have 10 points, but 7, 8 players in hand. Others might have 40 points on the board, only 2 players left. It's going to be a very interesting one. Got Sarr for Saka replacement, only 1 assist. Yeah, don't get me started on Saka replacements. The fact, you know, buying him and buying Isak at the wrong times has cost me 50 plus points this season alone. So, yeah, with Sarr in the midfield, I just haven't been able to get that right. And if you haven't seen on Twitter, basically Anthony Gordon this season, I've started him 5 times. He's got 0 goals, 0 assists, averaging 2.2 points per game. It is what it is. Is Mateta and Kluivert even worth considering? Yes, I was very keen on Mateta today. If you go to my deadline stream, you'll see it. I'm not just making it up. Kluivert, I have to say, before today, I was not really looking to invest anytime soon, but that hat-trick has obviously turned a few eyebrows. I have to say that. Very impressive performance, and to score even a brace at St. James's Park, let alone a hat-trick, is really impressive. So, yeah, he is worth considering, but more so in 2 or 3 weeks' time, not against Forest at home. Wright is a cosmetic goalkeeper. I would have bought Sells if not for the fixtures, but eyeing now Henderson and Kepa. I'm not too keen on Kepa, but Bournemouth are decent defensively. They're a very solid unit overall. I'd rather cover them in that position or defensively with Kerkez and Howson. But yeah, that could work. My favourite goalkeepers, despite the fixtures, are Sells and Pickford. Henderson might be third or fourth, actually. He just gets those surprising clean sheets from time to time, and it was a great win for Crystal Palace. 7 games unbeaten on their travels in the Premier League. 75.5 left to play. That's ridiculous, to be fair. You probably have Kluivert, don't you? 50 points with 4 to play, so there are some great scores flying around here, although it has been kind of mixed bag for a lot of people. Would you say Trent is locked in for double game week? I have Salah, Van Dijk, Trent, and plan on selling one of the latter two to get Arne's slot. Yeah, I think Trent will start both games, but there is the possibility of him being benched in one of them. I think that's always existed, and Connor Bradley could get a start. But Bournemouth and Everton away are really tough games, especially Bournemouth on their current form, unbeaten in 11 Premier League matches. But yeah, I think Trent is the second best Liverpool asset and the second best double game week player for 24. There's no doubt about that. I said it earlier, and today's assist for Darwin Núñez has cemented that. Right to Alisson, I'd rather go for other Liverpool players, to be fair, and you could go for Jordan Pickford instead, at least in game week 24. But buying Alisson now against Ipswich Town looks decent. Then you've got a double. And Liverpool are looking decent, although very, very close. They left it late today, I have to say, against Brentford, but they created a lot of chances, deserved to win. And they kept the clean sheet, which is very important. But I'm still not that keen on Alisson like I would be with Pickford or other goalkeepers. 30 points with 5 left, I think that's good. Depending on which players you have, that could be enough for a green arrow, but it also depends on your rank. 35 points of Gibbs, White, Palmer, and Wood to play. If Palmer doesn't play, Kerkez will come in. Never say never, right? But I personally think Palmer will start. 2 subs on the bench for me with returns, and out of 2, Kerkez and Dean, but 18 points on my starting 11 from 7 players. I mean, look, Luca Dean didn't start the match, and he came on, got an assist, and changed the game for Aston Villa, so no one can really foresee that. As for Kerkez, also quite surprising, and he also left it late against Newcastle. I captain Palmer with vice-captain Salah, and my first bench is Rodgers instead of Trent. I need Palmer to play. Oh, you put Trent second on your bench. Is that the case? But yeah, Palmer captain, I think that could really work well. It's just reminding me of that Isak yellow flag last week and the 16-pointer, which I did mention as well in the deadline stream. Thinking of buying Trent for Saliba to have a Van Dijk Trent double up and selling Van Dijk next. I still would rather have a double up in Liverpool offensively, but I understand what you're coming from, and I think both Trent and Van Dijk are solid options for the double, with Trent being the preference. Sold Castagna for Hall. What are your thoughts? Not a bad time to get off Fulham, I guess. They've got some mixed bag fixtures. Now, with Newcastle, I still think Lewis Hall is a brilliant option. Got an assist today, taking the corner. But shortly, after Southampton away and Fulham at home, and even that's not an easy game, you've got some relatively tough fixtures for Newcastle. And yeah, today showed a lot of vulnerabilities against Bournemouth. So, look, it's a good transfer. I think it's an upgrade. But the timing might be a little bit too late, just like with me and Gordon, to be fair. Hi, Dylan. Gabriel to Van Dijk or Jackson to Gakpo? Jackson to Gakpo is the better move, I think, with Gameweek 23 and 24 in mind, and potentially beyond that. And Gakpo is a nice placeholder for Cunha in Gameweek 26, for example. Let's keep it a buck. The Arsenal defence is kind of overrated, especially double Arsenal defence. Well, this season, I think Arsenal have been shaky, especially in recent matches. You might be right there. But also, I think Saliba was a massive loss today. And, once that was confirmed, yeah, I was even less confident of Arsenal getting points. And my prediction today was a draw. I said 1-1. But I still think Arsenal have one of the best defences in the league, if not the best. But a lot of chopping and changing. Timber has played left back, right back, and now centre back. There is no real consistency there. Calafiori, Kivio, and all these other options getting injured on the left-hand side. Tomiyasu can't stay fit. And I think Ben White is a massive miss. People have underestimated that. Both offensively, the combinations of Saka when he was available and Odegaard are very crucial to how Arsenal play. So I think there's a bit more to it. In this game, it says the expired. Yeah, look, I think Lewis Hall is a good upgrade. It's just, with all Newcastle assets, just be a bit mindful when you do buy them in with a long-term view, especially if you don't have a free hit or don't want to use it in Game Week 29, because Newcastle will most likely reach the Carabao Cup final and blank in said Game Week 29. Wildcard 23, here we go. I'm not going to lie, it has crossed my mind for me just because I can, without any hits, I can get to 3 Liverpool players and 2 Everton, but I think longer term there could be some problems down the road. Ken Back says 34 points with 4 to play, need Bruno to have a better game than Ahmad and rebalance last week's games for Ahmad. That's possible, he's got a good record against Brighton. If I had to guess, and of course FPL is a guessing game, I do think Bruno outscores Ahmad this week. Maybe both of them blank, who knows, but I do think Bruno's got a good chance in the next 2 matches. Got 35 points of Wood, Aina and Palmer to go. I think so, at Rapids. It's going to be close. But yeah, without any of them captain, it's going to be relatively difficult, especially at high rank. If you're where I am, or maybe a bit lower, maybe it's just about enough. But even then, I have to say, it's very competitive in the top 500k even, which is crazy to say. Yeah, Jackson to Gakpo is still viable. He wasn't great today, Cody Gakpo, but that is one of my transfer plans actually for Game Week 24. I could even take the plunge, take a hit this week and buy Trent for Gabriel. But I'm also thinking about Arne Slot and using that assistant manager chip in Game Week 24 as soon as it's available. Hold Gakpo or move for Mateta Wissa. Definitely hold Gakpo against Ipswich Town. Unless we get murmurings of him being benched, I'd keep him. Also, I think about transferring Sarr to Kluivert, 2 home games, Nottingham and Liverpool, and then away Southampton and home Wolves. I think Kluivert is more of a buy for those latter games, Southampton and Wolves. I wouldn't buy him for the next 2. He could return, and he does seem fairly fixture-proof. He also came off the bench against Arsenal and got a goal and an assist, I believe. But yeah, I'd be a bit careful about buying him against Forest. I think that might just be chasing last week's points, or in this case, today's points. New rumours about Saliba not playing, still didn't bench Gabriel for Munoz, hope Wood gets a hat-trick tomorrow and sells clean sheet. Yeah, look, I'm going to stand by what I said. I still would have gone for Gabriel over Munoz. I thought West Ham would score. I was wrong about that. And I did back Villa to score myself, but Gabriel always has that attacking threat, which wasn't really present today. But that's 4 consecutive blanks, and it makes it a bit easy to pull the trigger on Gabriel. But the only reason I'm looking to do it myself is to buy Trent, and it's going to be a case like with Salah. I'm either going to get points or jinx him, but either way, I'm happy. But yeah, Gabriel, still a good asset for me. But with Arsenal defensively, a double or triple up, I'd definitely try to trim it down. I've been saying this for some time now. They've got excellent fixtures coming up, though, and it could turn the other way, clean sheet-wise. Only Wood can save me now. Pause. Yeah, look, Chris Wood and Sells, it'd be brilliant if Forest keep a clean sheet and get a win, and a decent return from Chris Wood. I'd be happy with that. Jackson, I'm relying on Jackson as well. It's just not looking good. I don't think Saliba's injury is major. It has been described as a minor problem, but there are no official reports on it yet. I think it's a muscular issue. Is it muscular? I think he just felt some tightness or discomfort, and he's going to be out for 1 to 2 weeks. So he won't play against Dynamo Zagreb in the Champions League for match day 7, and he was also part of my plans for the Limitless team, actually, for that video. And he's going to miss the Wolves away game. But afterwards, I think he's going to be back in time for Man City at home in early February. Not that it matters anyway, but you'd rather win games than lose them, right? Jellyfish Potter says 36 points with Sells, Palmer, Ahmad and Wood to go. Mateta and Trent saving my underwhelming day. Very, very good. I mean, I'd take half of, any of their points to add to my score. Pretty decent, actually. Thank you, Shavaim. As he says, like the video if you enjoy it and subscribe to the channel. Thank you to those that have tuned in today. With obviously the late setup. I mean, I tend to do these reaction streams quite late anyway, after all the games have been done. But yeah, I literally had no time really to kind of set this up a bit earlier. I still have Palmer captain. I thought he ought to recover till Monday. Yeah, I think he starts. And that could be a masterstroke. If he starts the game, I think he's got a great chance of hauling. So yeah, I mean, you've got a great opportunity to make one up on Salah and Isak captainers. Yeah, 2 blanks from Salah. Long may it continue. Arsenal as a defensive force are really disappointing of late. You're right. I think it's a combination of different factors. Injuries, I think, is a key reason why. The chopping and changing, especially, I just think over the course of the season, really. But they have been shaky. I think there is this kind of uncertainty, more so in the previous games, because today I think the Arsenal attackers actually did their job. But yeah, I mean, Arsenal were in cruise control at 2-0 up, and that one goal by Tielemans changed the entire game. And I had a bad feeling from that point onwards. And yeah, it was just not good news for them. But Arsenal are still a decent proposition defensively. And with those upcoming fixtures, I'd still recommend holding in most cases. But if you've got a triple up or even a double up, I would consider trimming it down slightly. If Enzo doesn't play on Monday, will Kirkers be on for Palmer if Palmer doesn't play too? Got Enzo first sub. Ooh, yeah. If Palmer and Enzo don't play, and you've got Kirkers second on your bench, yeah, that should be fine. As long as you've got an eligible formation. You need 3 defenders at least. And of course, Kirkers would come on for you, so that is absolutely fine. But just be careful about that. I think you should be absolutely fine there. I have to say, though, I think Palmer will play. Trent was really good today. Yeah, we'll see if that continues when I buy him. Jackson hat-tricks coming for patient managers. Mate, that would be very welcome. Let's put it that way. I still think Gakpo's worth buying. If money was no issue for me, I'd rather go for Arno Slot and go for him, Trent and Salah. I think that's the best Liverpool triple up for the double. But in terms of players, it's Gakpo over Diaz, who was quite poor today, actually. Van Dijk is good, to be fair, but I don't see Liverpool keeping 2 clean sheets against Everton and Bournemouth. I mean, never say never, right? Against Ipswich Town, that's a good chance of a clean sheet, to be fair. It's all team dependent as well. I said this in the stream earlier. Some of you might need a goalkeeper. Others might need a defender. In other cases, it might be a forward. So I think you kind of shape your triple ups depending on those factors. Gandhi is unstoppable again with Isak curse. No trust in the kickoff match. Yeah, I think only Salah's beaten that this season amongst popular captaincy choices. 24 with Nico Williams, Aina, Palmer, Calvert-Lewin and Chris Wood to go. That's pretty good, actually. Calvert-Lewin, though, don't hold your breath with him, but the rest looks very strong. 41 with Bruno, Wood, Palmer to go. I think that's fairly decent, actually. Sato and Boomer or Gordon? Well, Gordon looks better this week against Southampton away. But I think long-term it's in Boomer. 42 points once the bonus for Mateta, Trent and Robinson are added. That's very strong as well, just like with Harry. So, yeah, 42 points. Mate, that's a very good score at this point. Last game week, you single-handedly cooked for me. I initially started JP and Colwell, but you said to start Robinson and Wood instead. Thanks, bro. Well, don't mention it, mate. You ultimately made the decision. I'm just giving my advice, and sometimes it's off it, but yeah, look, sometimes you'll get things right, sometimes you won't, but ultimately, as long as you have fun, which I'm not this season in FPL, at least you're enjoying the ride. Masterclass from Wood and Haaland tomorrow. Not Haaland, but yeah, Chris Wood. I wouldn't mind so much. I think a goal would be fine. Yeah, look, good luck, Jellyfish. Hopefully you can keep on pushing. You got a good score this week, and you've been doing fairly well whenever we've spoken recently. Let's go through the other questions and comments. There's a few I've missed from before, and, you know, we'll have like a chill. Well, there's a lot of messages actually, so let's whiz through these. I need a 4.7 million or below defender to buy to start next week because of very bad fixtures. Yeah, awkward situation to be in. Mikalenko's a good purchase for the double, but he's not someone I'd buy in for Gameweek 23. Yeah, it's not looking great. I'm not going to lie to you. For this week specifically, you might consider Bernal Botman. Or just a Newcastle defender that's kind of cheaper to start against Southampton away. That could be a decent play, but longer term, I'm not sure that's the best call for you. Munoz is slightly above that price threshold, Robinson too, and I wouldn't necessarily invest in Fulham defenders now. Difficult. Thomas says 16 points. What the fuck? Yeah, it's been one of those seasons, hasn't it? And Saturday, in my experience, the Saturdays have been very frustrating. 28 points with Aina, Wood, Palmer, Jackson, Pickford to play. I'd be fairly confident if I were you. That's not too bad. How do people have so many points? I'm top 100k, but seeing everyone in the chat with 35 plus. To be fair, there have been plenty earlier who said, you know, 10 points, 16, 14. So it's kind of been a mixture. I've mainly seen bad scores so far, but a lot of players left on the Sunday and even Monday as well. I transferred Mateta in this week and it paid off. My transfers have been clutch so far this season. Mine haven't, especially since December. I think before that it's been okay, but it's just been one disaster after the other for me. So basically what you can take from my videos and streams is do the opposite of what I do. Crispy says, crazy how Trent went from scoring against West Ham, everyone praising him, blanking against United, people saying not worth the money, and now getting a double-digit game week. Shows how patience is key. Yeah, you're right. I mean, in terms of value, there are better value defenders out there like Lewis Hall, especially in the last 8 game weeks. But Trent has that high ceiling, which makes him kind of not worth the money, but it makes him worth a punt, especially with an upcoming double. And he's more than a punt, to be fair, but when you are tripling up on Liverpool, he's undoubtedly the second best option behind Salah. I bought Murphy for Ismaila Sarr. Should I move him out and bring Kluivert in, or to stick with my choices in the short term? I'd stick with him, mate. He's facing Southampton away next compared to Kluivert hosting Nottingham Forest. Kluivert's on penalties, and longer term, you could make that switch, but not this week against Southampton. Let's see if Jacob Murphy is injured long term, though. If he is, then you could make the switch or go elsewhere for now. But if he's fit, keep Jacob Murphy for sure. The same goes for any Newcastle player that's going to start in Game Week 23. Ala Madrid says Foden, Murillo, Palmer captain, Gavardio left 50 points so far. Yeah, I'd be very confident if I were you. I have Foden captain. Can't be worse than Salah and Isak, right? 34 left, Palmer, Wood, Bruno and Aina. Decent, Hassan. I think that's fairly decent. I think I'll get a green arrow. Just my opinion. Trying to decide between Diaz and Gakpo, but Salah making me a little nervous about triple captain with blanks. I actually look at it the other way. It's like he's cashing in the XG and the points for the double. I'd rather he gets the big hauls now and under-delivers in Game Week 24. That will help me rank-wise, but not that it matters. What rank do you expect to be at the end of the season? Well, every time I ask this question, it seems like my chances get worse and worse. It's still to better what I did in the last campaign. And top 50k would be pretty decent, but yeah, there's a lot of work to do, and I need to get my chips spot on and finally get some transfers and momentum going, because the last few weeks have particularly been quite tough. I did fairly well so I started the season well, first 2-3 game weeks, then I had a bad period, as I usually do, around game week 4 to 7, let's say, but the wild card I played back in game week 6 did help me longer term. It's just I haven't been able to really push on since hitting 300 to 400k recently. My gimmick is dependent on Forest cooking Southampton now, Wood captain and Aina and Sells with my 18-pointer. Palmer, Jackson first sub might help, but won't turn it around to a green arrow. Well, I think the Forest triple up could really boost you there and secure you a minor green arrow at the very least, but Jackson, I really hope he can get a big return finally. Lewis to Mikalenko or Tarkovsky, already have Trent, as Everton have rumours of fullback loan plan. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm not particularly fond of Everton anyway. Leicester at home, there could be a clean sheet, mainly because Leicester are toothless up front. I'm not so sure though. I think Mikalenko's my slight preference. If money is no issue, to be fair, Tarkovsky's fine. The same goes for Ashley Young. But of course, that's another fullback. They could invest there and Young becomes a bench option. Yeah, I think if money is no issue, Tarkovsky would be slightly better, but a little bit more goal threat. In terms of bonus points, you might give the edge to Mikalenko, and he's cheaper. So if they don't sign anybody, you might just go for the cheaper choice. So, difficult one to answer, because I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of either. Pickford for me is the best way to cover Everton defensively. I'm going to stick with Mikalenko for the cheaper price tag. But you make a good point. If Everton do sign a fullback, that could cause some concerns. I have Riot and Gabriel and a little tired of double Arsenal defence. A few points, and I wonder about long-term goalkeeper, have Fabianski. If you're buying a goalkeeper now, so with the Southampton fixture gone for Sells, I'd be looking at Pickford and keeping it quite simple there. But overall, looking until Game Week 38, I think Sells is still a great purchase long-term, but you might suffer a little bit in the next couple of weeks. No, yeah, wait, so I'm kind of done with the transfer markets and stuff like that in Arsenal. It's just, they should have signed someone by now. I mean, Saka got injured before Christmas. They had plenty of time to prepare. They needed attackers before the injuries, and now it's literally clear-cut. They need 2 or 3 attackers and a midfielder. But it's not happening. The Dylan curse is real. Brings Gordon in, and he blanks after returning the last few games for me. Yeah, look, I did say earlier, Gordon could blank against Bournemouth. You know, they're a good team, and he's been so consistent for, 9 games? His run is going to end at some point. But I also bought Gordon with an eye to target Southampton away next week. And I'll be honest, at this point, I don't mind jinxing players. My team for Gameweek 23 sells Gabriel, Trent, Van Dijk, Salah captain, Palmer, Gordon, Ahmad, Wissa, Isak, JP. Don't have any fires to take out after a long time, so I'm considering rolling. Yeah, I wish I could do the same thing, but I'm going to probably go all out, take a hit, buy Trent and Gakpo, jinx them. Happy days. In your case, I see why you're looking to do that. You don't need to make any transfers on paper. Even sells against Bournemouth away, you're not going to sell sells, so that's absolutely fine. I saw Jackson for Gakpo in Gameweek 20. Since then, he has only got one return, but hoping he returns in the next 4 games. Yeah, he might not start all of them, but I think Gakpo will still get decent minutes and be a great option for the double. Or at least a good one. Hola Dylan, ¿crees que Núñez es un riesgo para los minutos de Gakpo? Es una buena pregunta, y con lo que hizo hoy, muy importante para el Liverpool, haciendo esos 2 goles al final. Es una posibilidad, pero Gakpo está jugando a la izquierda, así que para mí es entre Darwin Núñez, Jota cuando está disponible, y también Díaz, que juega como delantero central ahora, para empezar para el Liverpool. Salah obviamente va a jugar todos los partidos, y por la izquierda Gakpo es la primera opción para Liverpool. Faster says, Mr. Rapids, I have the same players left. I'm on 48 points. I probably only get a 10-point green if that. That's still good, mate. Any green is always welcome. Please, Palmer, don't play Monday. Just temper expectations. That's all I would say. Sells goal from his own box. We will be there. I mean, he got an assist earlier this season for Chris Wood against Leicester. Gavardio, Enzo, Jackson, plus Raul to Castagna, Kluivert, Mateta, Gakpo. Thoughts? Good moves overall. It's just with Castagna, you're buying him in for Man United at home. I know United aren't great, but they've got a good record against Fulham. Kluivert, good long-term investment. I don't like him for the next 2 necessarily. Mateta's a nice differential, and I've been talking about him a lot in the last 2-3 game weeks, and I think Gakpo is a solid option for the double. The minutes could be a slight concern. As I was asked in Spanish just now, do you think Darwin Núñez will be a risk to Gakpo's minutes? Not necessarily for me. It's a possibility, but I think Gakpo is the first choice left winger, whilst Jota, when he's fit, Darwin and Diaz are battling out for the striker role. And of course, Diaz can also play on the left. That's his main position. But in recent weeks, they have found that winning formula with Gakpo on the left. Jackson to Mateta. Yeah. I think with Jackson, he is worth holding for fixtures like Wolves at home, which obviously, you know, it's gone by for you anyway. If you have Jackson, you have him. But also for West Ham at home fairly soon as well. But Man City away in between, and you've got Gakpo facing Ipswich Town, you've got Mateta with good fixtures. I think it's worth the transfer, actually, and you gain a little bit of money. I've got 32 of Sells, Palmer, Wood, and Jackson to go, no captain. That's still pretty good, mate. I think that's almost enough for a green arrow. Good to see you fast there as well. Those who captain Wood. Yeah, look, I wasn't that bullish on him, but he'll probably outscore Salah and Isak. I'd be surprised if he doesn't return now. -4 for Trent, says Geotip. I'm looking at it myself. I will probably do it, to be quite honest with you. Mateta's been great, 21 points in 2 game weeks. Yeah, returns in the last 3 matches. Very impressive stuff. Dylan Mann, painful draw today. But how about Bournemouth thrashing Newcastle? Really impressed by Bournemouth. I did say earlier they're going to cause problems for Newcastle, but I still expected the Toon to get a narrow win with their recent form, the home advantage. But their fantastic form has come to an end, and Bournemouth's continue. 11 matches unbeaten is incredible for them. Palmer needs to heal up and play. Was risky enough going against Salah this week. Yeah. It's very surprising for Salah to blank twice in a row. Against Forest, understandable, but against Brentford, very, very surprised by that. 39 points, 5 to play, nothing to complain except for captaining Salah, but you win some, you lose some. Yeah, good score, decent players left, you should be fine. The captaincy, bit disappointing. From my perspective, I've got it mainly right since Game Week 10, but the last 2 have been disappointing for sure. We need to be careful with Trent because there's a chance they will leave Liverpool to Madrid in January. I don't think he will in January. End of the season, but not now. You are right, it's a possibility that we should consider, but yeah, I don't think that'll be the case. Also, is Trent the Liverpool defender to own now? Yeah, he is the best one. If you have the money and you can stretch to him, I would take the plunge. And in my case, it means selling Gabriel, which I'm not that fussed about right now. Not FPL related, but do you watch F1? Yes, I do. I used to watch it much more in my childhood, though. My favourite driver growing up was Michael Schumacher. Right now, it's probably Max Verstappen. I think he has qualities and traits that are very similar to Schumacher. That's why I like him. You could say the aggression, the kind of ruthless winning streak and all that stuff. My favorite team historically is Ferrari. You know, they're the most prestigious and they've had so many top drivers and cars over the years. But yeah, they're a bit like Arsenal. You know, they just can't win the title. I've seen you playing F1 Fantasy Game. Yes, I used to make videos on it. I've actually got some pretty good ranks in that. Much better than this, that's for sure. Top 1k, top 5k, top 10k. And I actually left it for a lot of races, actually. Yes, I do have Argentinian blood. Thankfully, I support one team that can get the job done. Dos cervezas, por favor. I might need one at the end. Cold moment. Yeah, I speak Spanish because, you know, my parents are from a Spanish-speaking country. Otherwise, I wouldn't know it. I'd just be, you know, I just speak one language. Will you take out Gabriel? It's possible. In an ideal world, I keep him. I buy Trent for Veltman or Van den Berg or Colwill. All of them are crap. But it's not possible in my case. Bournemouth outplayed Newcastle, period. That's the reason that Isak and Gordon blanked. They were behind the 8-ball early in the match. Yeah, you can tell from the first few minutes that Bournemouth were really putting on the pressure on Newcastle. Their press was excellent and Newcastle couldn't get out. Even after they equalised, yeah, just a few minutes afterwards, you just got that sensation Bournemouth would go on to score again. Benching Munoz backfired. I'd be on a 49 if I played him. Still a really good score though, mate. And yeah, I think a lot of us would have predicted West Ham to score. 20 points is the average so far. Yay, I've beaten it. Haaland captain, might need him to haul, ranked 4 million. Well, look, I don't want Haaland to do well, but I wish you well, and hopefully you can get your FPL points and enjoy the ride. It's always important to enjoy FPL, otherwise, what's the point? Suhas says Sanchez and Jackson out for Pickford and Gakpo for free. Thoughts? 29 points of Salah captain, still 6 to play. I'm on board with that. Pickford doesn't look great against Brighton away, but for the double, he's the best goalkeeper. And longer term, only Sells is better, and that's debatable actually when you look at fixtures. As for your captaincy, yeah, disappointing, but you've got good players left, or a good number of players left, should I say. I don't think 29 is too shabby. I'd take that. I would this week. How will you prepare for Double Gameweek 24? The simplest thing for me is to take a -4 hit this week, Gakpo in for Jackson, and Trent for Gabriel. -4 hit. Unfortunately, I can't afford selling Colwill, Van den Berg, or Veltman instead. It has to be Gabriel. But considering Arsenal's recent defensive woes, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. I think I heard the overall double Arsenal defense has paid off for people, but it's just so painful when it doesn't work. I agree. If White and Saka, etc. fit, then might consider, but double, not a fan. Yeah, look, I made this sort of defensive double up back in Gameweek 6, right? And it's just been terrible. Before I went there, Arsenal were looking so strong in the first 5 game weeks. They were going to Villa Park, keeping a clean sheet. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, clean sheet. What is it? Like 3 clean sheets out of the first 5 matches. Raya was getting bonus points consistently, but different times now. Sells and Pickford are definitely better options in goal. The guy below me in my league has Clover on his bench. Yeah, I'm actually facing someone in some head-to-head league with Clover on his bench, but yeah, it's still not enough for me. Gabriel sell or hold, no Saka, no Corn FC. I disagree with that anyway. I mean, Arsenal have caused problems from set pieces anyway, and Declan Rice is a brilliant cross of the ball. But yeah, Saka's just a big miss in general. The open play threat, I also think he's the only world-class attacker Arsenal have, and his consistency is just remarkable. Odegaard's brilliant, but he's inconsistent for me. He has a brilliant game, then he's kind of gone missing, and he was today. Yeah, I think Gabriel is a hold, but in my case, I'm going to pull the trigger and get Trent. 1 to jinx, 2 to get a double Gameweek player, and 3 points maybe, and if not, I don't care. No way Wood and Haaland blank tomorrow. Yeah, surely not. Not both of them at the same time anyway. Salah captain already hurting me. If either of them score a hat-trick, it will be a disaster. To be fair though, Haaland's effective ownership is that low, it doesn't affect your rank that much. It's not like Gameweek 1 to 5 where any brace or hat-trick he got when he wasn't your captain would have been terminal. It's not the case now. Elder says 31 after bonus with Aina, Ahmad and Palmer captain. Yeah, decent score. Not many players left, but they are quality assets for Gameweek 22. Jack Shite week, what the hell was this? Yeah, I agree. Wait, you're going to get Gakpo for Jackson and Trent in? You're not using Asman? I've used my triple captaincy already. That's just one option, like the clearest route I have to getting 3 Liverpool players. But yeah, if I wanted to get Arne Slot, I could still buy Trent or Gakpo, but it does make it more difficult overall. And my preference, I've said this before, is to have Trent and Arne Slot. But to make that work is going to be very difficult, especially with my move today of Gordon in for Sarr. So that's why, with Gordon blanking already, it's just not looking good. It really isn't. And it's the story of my transfers in the last month or so. Do you think Jackson to Gakpo or Timber to Konate is the better move to get a third Liverpool asset? That's an interesting one. I'd still say Gakpo, but it's very close, I have to say. 57 points, so happy. Mateta OP, really good score, I have to say. The positive news is that Mbeumo looks great. He's going to haul one of these weeks. Yeah, good performances against City and Liverpool, although he was quite wasteful today. Palmer and Wood still to go. Yeah, thankfully, a lot of us do have those two, but I mean, look, I think Palmer will start. It's not a guarantee, though. I used my triple captain back in Gameweek 2. One of my only good decisions this season on Erling Haaland. I had a great start, actually, for the first 3 game weeks, but different story now. Do you think Trent will play the 2 games in 24? I do think he will, and as you say, there is a big gap between the 2 games. And don't worry, mate, your English is very good. There are a lot of cup competitions in between, so that could cause some problems. I still think Trent starts both, though. I have mentioned before that it wouldn't completely surprise me if he was benched in one of them or got reduced minutes, especially if Liverpool are chasing a game and Trent's having a bad match and they want to change things up about a little bit. But yeah, I think Trent will start both. Kluivert is a genuine buy or he is overperforming? He's a bit of both, really. I mean, sometimes Chris Wood's an example. You get that player who has poor stats or not great ones, and he still delivers very, very consistently. Kluivert has got that high ceiling, 2 hat-tricks this season, which is incredible. I think he's a purchase in a couple of weeks. Against Forest and Liverpool, I'd rather avoid, if I'm being honest, as good as Bournemouth are. 17 points with 6 players left, including Wood captain, hoping for the best. Yeah, it looks really good. You technically, if you also factor in the captain, you have 7 players left from that perspective, so looking pretty good for you, I have to say. Yeah, exactly. Haaland, I don't care about. It's Palmer I'm worried about. Yeah, it's actually probably best if Palmer does blank, even though I've got him. It's just a weird season, isn't it? 26 points of Kulusevski, JP, Wood, Sells, and Palmer captain. No, I don't think so, City. If anything, I think Palmer captain will push you to 50-plus points. Who to change? Cunha with, have Wood and Isak. Gakpo, if you are looking for a Liverpool asset to double or triple up on. Otherwise, it's Mateta on current form, for sure. And he's got the fixtures to make this sustainable. Wait, will I be able to buy Arne Slot in 24? Well, yes, you have to activate the chip. Then you can choose Arne Slot as your manager and it doesn't take up a transfer. But if you decide to make a managerial change for Gameweek 25, then you would have to make a transfer there to make that switch. And also, it takes part of your triple up. So if you've got Trent, Salah and Gakpo, you need to sell one of them to get Arne Slot as your assistant manager. Hey mate, played Iwobi since Southampton at home, except for last week. He's been my biggest troll this season. That's very unfortunate, mate. I mean, both goals last week were just fortuitous crosses that ended up in the back of the net, and Robertson obviously profited from it. Yeah, for me, a Semenyo. And look, maybe in the last couple of weeks, I should have started Semenyo and not made transfers in certain cases, so I can hold my hands up there. But whenever I do start Semenyo, and it's probably the same with you and Iwobi, it just doesn't work out, does it? Mate, Joao Pedro to Gakpo, I have Isak and Wood. Yeah, I would make the switch. After today, I think a lot of people are less keen on Gakpo, and I understand that. But I think, I think Gakpo is still a good option for Gameweek 23 and the double. You'd expect 2 starts out of 3 and good minutes anyway, so I think Gakpo is a good option. Does the assistant manager come in for a player in the 11? No. No, you still have the same 11. You've got your captain. You can't captain your assistant manager. He will kind of be on top of that. And the same goes for budget. You need enough money in the bank to buy Arne Slot at 1.5 million, and it does take up your Liverpool triple up. Sandri says, absolutely spot on, Dylan. Max Verstappen fan also here. Let's go for 10 titles. Yeah, look, I'll be honest. I don't want him to break Schumacher's record personally, but look, maybe I have just a soft spot for Schumacher. Yeah, look, I think with Verstappen, though, it's going to be difficult for him next year if Red Bull don't seriously improve the car. And without Adrian Newey, I do see it as pretty challenging for them. Ever since he announced he was leaving and all the problems of Christian Horner and all that stuff, I mean, Red Bull just fall off a cliff, basically. So Yeah, look, Verstappen I think will win a few more championships, but he also said repeatedly he's going to retire fairly soon. Mateta in for Wissa this game week. I like Wissa long term, and he offers good value. He does miss a lot of big chances, though. He missed one today. I like Mateta, but I think I'd keep Wissa, mate. Kluivert seems trappy, like Enzo or Sa. I think he's better, though, than both of them. You might be right, but I do see him as a better option than Enzo Fernandez anyway. He plays more advanced. He's on penalties, and today, I think, has really shifted the perceptions on him. Scoring an open play hat-trick against Newcastle away from home is something very rare. Dylan, you can buy Kanata as a cheap defender. Yeah, I could. That is an option for me, and then I can buy Arne Slot or use that chip. That's certainly a possibility for me. Trent just has that high ceiling, doesn't he? But I've got a few options to consider and weigh up over the coming days. I might need to pull the trigger early, though, because in terms of buying Gakpo and Trent, I have nothing left in the bank, and it could be a similar story with Kanate and Arne Slot in the coming weeks. Twisted Parky says Kluivert is a good option, but we have to remember one of the hat-tricks were pens. Yeah, when he scored that hat-trick, I said he was a skip, and I don't regret saying that, but this hat-trick is different. I've had such a bad game week and still got a green arrow. Take it, mate. I mean, that's a sign of a good FPL squad. Horror for everyone, I feel. Almost everyone. There are some 50-pointers and 40-pointers flying around in the chat, which is hard to believe, you could say. Tommy Raw says, gutted that I'm 0.1 million short to do Mbumo, Alisson for Sar Sanchez, and Mbumo didn't drop in price. Might just get Pickford then. I think Pickford's a better option compared to Alisson anyway. Maybe not for Gameweek 24 specifically, and this week, of course, Alisson looks better, but long term, Pickford outscores Alisson. I'm considering bringing in Kluivert for Ahmad. I'd keep Ahmad. I still think he's a long-term hold. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Especially in the next 2 game weeks. 16 points with 5 left to play. Started Gabriel Hall Milenkovic in defence. Benched Robinson and Kirkes. F me. How do you do with benching dilemmas? I might not be the person to ask this, mate, because I've had Semenyo's points on my bench all season. I've had Gordon 10 points on my bench against Bournemouth in Game Week 2. Whenever I start him, he's terrible. So, look, I think with bench points, sometimes it can actually work in your favour because a player misses out like Jota did for me earlier this season. Chris Wood scores a penalty against Brighton, gets 8 points, and then I get those 8 points off my bench. But yeah, when you have a strong squad, it goes both ways. It can come in clutch, and sometimes you look at those bench points and cry. But it's just best to... I wouldn't overthink it too much. I think in a lot of cases, it makes sense why we bench these players. If Slot rotates any player in Double Gameweek 24, especially against Everton, it will likely be an attacker. Will Liverpool rotate against Everton, though? I mean, there are certain positions like the forward line, like is it Gakpo or Diaz on the left, or do they go for Darwin up front or Jota? Fair enough, but otherwise, I think Liverpool go just really strong. I mean, that's a derby. That's going to be a very tough game. I could see Liverpool dropping points in one of those matches in the double, which might also put me off Arne Slot as my assistant manager as well. 35 points, got Rico Lewis, Ahmad, Elanga, Wood, Haaland captain to play. I took Palmer out last week for Haaland gamble. Yeah, fair enough. I wouldn't have done that myself, but it could work out really well for you, especially if Palmer misses out. And you can always buy Palmer back fairly soon, actually. So hopefully it works out for you. Ronaldo or Messi? For me, there's no debate. For me, it's Messi all day long. And I did say this earlier, actually, when I was asked about one opinion that people might get pissed off about, football-related. Who to captain next game week? It's close, but Salah is still my slight preference, to my detriment. He has dipped recently, and I have mentioned this before in the Carabao Cup against Tottenham. Poor performance. Man United in the Prem scored, but I still thought he was quite poor on the day. And of course, against Nottingham Forest, quite ineffective. And against Brentford, didn't really impact the match too much. So, yeah, it's still Salah for me. But Isak against Southampton is very tempting. I might go there myself. I regret not playing Castagna instead of Gabriel. Yeah, I can't remember if I was asked this question specifically earlier, but when I was asked about Robinson or Gabriel, I did go for Robinson. So thankfully, I pointed some people in the right direction. Pickford or Alisson? Pickford. For this week, Alisson looks better against Ipswich Town. No denying that. But long term, I think Pickford scores more points. He's not injury prone. He gets bonus points, saves penalties, and he's Everton's best asset. Wait, so if I play the assistant manager chip, it will be for every game week from Game Week 24? For a free game week period. And in that free game week period, you can't use any other chip, like the bench boost, free hit, triple captain. So yeah, if you want me to break down the chip, I can do so. I did it earlier. today as well. Yeah, okay, Jason will go for some different screens in just a second. Zen says, is the free of Mateta, Wood, and Isak good? Yes, it's very strong. On current form, you could argue that's the best front three in the game. Sell Diaz to Rodgers or Kluivert. I still prefer Rodgers long term, but do you want to sell Diaz when he's got a double? The only reason I do that is if you want to free up a slot for another Liverpool player like Trent or Arne Slot, but otherwise, I'd probably keep Diaz. Salah home and Isak away, but I think Saints worse. Yeah, I completely agree with that. But Ipswich Town, I don't think they've been terrible this season, but at Anfield I could see them getting comprehensively beaten. Chris with captain thoughts? Well, earlier today I said he hasn't got that many double-digit hauls, so for me Salah, Isak and Palmer were better options, but he's going to outscore two of them at least. I'd be very surprised if he blanks against Southampton. For future weeks, I definitely wouldn't be doing that. Assuming quite a lot of people will triple captain Salah in Double Gameweek, will it be that effective? I hope not. I actually hope Salah blanks in those matches, but he's not going to do that, is he? And that's where the assistant manager chip could come in really clutch for those that don't have the triple captaincy or are planning to use it in another time period. Hi Dylan, best replacement for Saliba, I have Milenkovic, Trent and Robinson. Yeah, good defensive line for you, but there could be some issues further down the road. Lewis Hall looks great for this week. Daniel Munoz has good long-term fixtures, but will likely blank in Gameweek 29 if that's something that you need to weigh up as well. You could also consider a second Liverpool defender, or even go to Mikalenko for Gameweek 24 at least, but I don't think there are that many options now. I was actually more, appealed by the defenders a couple of weeks ago. Not so much for this week. Probably Lewis Hall is the best as a 1 or 2 Gameweek punt. I ended up starting Martinelli over Wissa. Fair play, mate. That's a really good haul. 32 points with 6 to play. I have 5 transfers and 2.2 million in the bank. That's a great position to be in. Yeah, Martinelli, look, profile-wise, Aston Villa does suit him as an opponent, but he's so wasteful and you never know what you're going to get from him that in a lot of cases I recommended benching him, so it's good that you started him. My prediction for the Liverpool trio attacker for Double Gameweek 24 against Bournemouth, Gakpo, Jota, Salah, and against Everton, Diaz, Nunez, Salah. You could be right. That is a possibility. Yeah, look, another reason why I am looking at Gakpo is to get the funds anyway to buy Trent, because I need to downgrade Jackson to make that possible. And when I look at the budget forwards, Joao Pedro, do I really go back there and then start him against Forest in Double Gameweek 24? It's not that great, is it? Thanks again, Dylan. Good luck for the rest of the game week. I need Palmer to play. Likewise, hopefully you have a great week and enjoy the football. Yeah, a lot of luck is needed, especially in my case. Thoughts on Raya to Alisson? At this point in time, I don't blame you for thinking it. Over the next 2 game weeks, Alisson should outscore Raya comfortably. But I can't help but think longer term, Alisson either gets injured or Raya just outscores him anyway. I'd rather go for Sells or Pickford as a set and forget goalkeeper. So if you want a Double Gameweek 24 option in that position, I'd go for Pickford. Dylan, will you be bringing in Trent ahead of his potential price rise? Well, let's actually speak about that, because according to livefpl.net, he's not going to go up in price, but maybe something's changed in the last hour or so. So yeah, let's see. Yeah, let's go to different screens here. So in terms of the FDR, Liverpool are top with their double in Gameweek 24. Spurs, Fulham, Everton and Crystal Palace complete the top 5. And those near the bottom include Man City, Leicester, Nottingham Forest, Ipswich Town and Newcastle. And I bought players from 2 of those clubs in the bottom 5. As for predicted points, Salah, Isak, Haaland, Trent. What have I done there? Oh, I see what I've done. So this is for Gameweek 23, by the way. Salah, Isak, Haaland, Watkins, Trent, Solanke, De Bruyne, Palmer, Gakpo and Mateta complete that top 10, and we could see some changes before the deadline. So these are the price projections from livefpl.net. Savio, Ahmad, Nico Williams and Raul Jimenez could go up in price tonight. As for price falls, there's quite a lot. Ismail Assar, Enzo, Johnson, Saliba, Lewis, Cunha, Timber, Collins, Neto, Semedo, and even more. Schmodix, Garnacho, Baleba, Lancashire, Vestergaard, Barnes, Brereton, Diaz, Emerson, Palmieri, Sessegnon, Mudryk, Nelson, Whiteman, Hermansen, Young, Guillerme, and Ben White, who is reportedly back in training. That will be a massive boost for the Gunners. They desperately need that with all the bad news they've had all season. I wouldn't expect all of those to actually go up or down in price, though, just to bear that in mind. I think there will be some changes in this projection very soon. So Draft Hunt are still recommending Lewis Hall for one of Robinson or Gabriel, and Howson for Veltman, but my priority as Liverpool players is quite clear with their upcoming double and the Ipswich Town fixture. I was quite willing to let Brentford away slip by. I thought they'd concede in that game, but still win quite comfortably. They left it late, but got the result nonetheless, and Trent is the standout. Arne Slot as the assistant manager is also very appealing, and I still like Gakpo, but I understand why some people are less keen on him, especially with Darwin scoring the brace. Maybe he gets some minutes in the double game week or a potential start as well. If we look at their optimization tool for Draft Town, they recommend starting Semenyo and Veltman this week over Colwill and Jackson, and also captaining Salah and vice-captaining Isak, which is my current play without making any moves. There will probably be some changes and a -4 hit being taken though. Let's look at the stats for the top 100k captaincy. Salah is top with 65%, Palmer is second. That could be massive for those that went there. A high risk, high reward captain for sure. Isak blanked in the early kickoff. Gandhi wins once again. Chris Wood, let's see what he can do tomorrow. Haaland is also fifth. So I could see some big returns there for those that went against Salah and Isak for the armband. But those two remain the best options for Gameweek 23 on paper. So let's go to livefpl.net. No, fpl.team. There's so many websites. So with my transfers of Sells and Gordon today, which we'll see how Sells does tomorrow, but I'm not that enthused about them right now. No surprises there. I am looking at potentially buying... Well, Konate is an option for me, and I could buy Joao Pedro, which might seem a bit stupid, right? Why would you buy Joao Pedro? Well, that would give me enough money to go for Arne Slot as my assistant manager, and I can buy Mikalenko next week and have 4 doublers, essentially. Konate, Salah captain, Arne Slot, and Mikalenko. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat. I'd be very interested to see. 90 predicted points. I also keep Gabriel in my setup. I've got Sells. Very good midfield. One of the positives I can say about my team. But let's look at the alternative, which includes buying Trent and Gakpo for a -4 hit this week. And I can still buy Mikalenko next week, by the way. And then bench Robinson. That's a possibility. We'll do that right now. Yeah, that would be the option. Mikalenko in. It's not really great, is it? But it is what it is. Mikalenko in. The predicted points, though, is 81.4. It does go to show how powerful the managers can be. But let me know what you prefer. Gakpo and Trent in for Gameweek 23 for a -4 hit, or just buying Konate and Joao Pedro or any cheap, forward that will allow me to buy Arne Slot and use that assistant manager chip. I'd be very interested to see your thoughts. I might even put a poll on it, because especially with the Trent and Gakpo moves, I need to move relatively fast. Any price changes, which includes Jackson going down or one of Gakpo or Trent going up, will price me out, and that would require another hit to make that possible. Anyone with Mateta this week are going to sleep soundly. Yeah, I never sleep soundly in FPL, but at least I recommended him. I'm good at recommending stuff, not so much on following my own advice, but yeah, Mateta, fair play to those that went there. Massive differential. I wasn't keen on him last month, especially when he scored against Arsenal in the Carabao Cup, but he's been really impressive in the last couple of matches. His form can't be denied, and the fixtures are certainly there. Hassan says, I have Salah, Van Dijk, Alisson. Sorry, I'm just trying to get your message. The chat does freeze sometimes. Okay, so no internet issues so far. But whenever I say that, there's something happens. So yeah, Salah, Van Dijk, Alisson. Who do you prefer to remove for Arne Slot? It probably would be Alisson. I don't like goalkeeper transfers, but maybe Alisson to Pickford for free works fairly well. Yeah, not bad at all, MC Miv. If anything, 55 points is a blessing this week. That's the best midfield in the game. Yeah, but it doesn't feel like it with the constant blanks. 3 of them blanking already. Palmer is a doubt. But I'm still quite bullish on them. I think that it is the best 4 midfielders. At least they have been for the last couple of weeks. Let's see. Stop saying you hope Salah blanks. I don't care, mate. I still want Liverpool to struggle at least. Have some competition, it's kind of boring. For me, it's not Ronaldo or Messi, but Ronaldinho. But that's because Ronaldinho made me watch football. That's fair enough. I mean, Ronaldinho is a joy to watch and one of the best players of the early 2000s for sure. Yeah, I mean, I love watching him despite playing for Brazil. Still, obviously, very, very talented. Best enter replacement. it's still going to be Rodgers or Ahmad for me. And Rodgers was poor today, very poor. Also got booked, but yeah, I like Rodgers long term. Havertz to Vissa, Joao Pedro, or Calvert-Lewin. I mean, look, that's Calvert-Lewin. That's another one I could do for the double, and that's something I toyed with earlier. I don't want to go there. I really don't like him. Wiss is the best one of the three, long term. I had Rodgers, Aina, and Sells on my bench for Gameweek 17 to miss 36 points. That's incredible. Yeah, it's a really weird season. Dylan needs a bench league. Yeah, look, my bench points aren't that bad compared to most people, or a lot of people, but it hasn't been great this season. It's been worse than the last few campaigns. Vitaly Z says 2 free transfers, thinking Jackson to Gakpo and Flecken to Pickford. Have Mikolenko already, though, and not sure if Pickford is needed. I think Pickford is an upgrade on Flecken anyway, and Mikolenko can be your 5th defender. You only start him in Gameweek 24, then he's just like your utility option, so that could work fairly well for you, and Everton should feature in blank Gameweek 29, which helps you navigate a blank without the use of the free hit chip. I think that's absolutely sound. Gakpo will be less appealing after today, with Darwin scoring the brace off the bench. You know, that could be slightly concerning, but I think that's fairly good. Arsenal defender looks not good without Saliba. Well, as I mentioned earlier, it's a minor problem. He'll probably miss 1 to 2 weeks. So you're looking at the Wolves away game, Dynamo Zagreb, and he could be back shortly afterwards. Is the three of Mateta, Wood, and Issa good for now? As I mentioned earlier, yes. 32 points, Aina, Palmer, Jackson, and Pedro to play. Good stuff. Yusuf says, I just did Trent in for Gabriel for a free transfer. Not convinced of Arsenal without Saka. Yeah, I don't really blame you there. Gabriel is still a good asset, but if the only way you can buy Trent is by selling Gabriel, I'd pull the trigger. Let me actually make a poll out and see what you lot think. This probably will be a shorter stream than usual since we did start obviously a little bit late, but it's good to see so many of you here. And if you want to keep the conversation going, then smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and if we do hit the super chat goal, we'll continue for even longer like we did earlier today with all the super chats. Thank you very much to those that sent them. Also the patrons and channel members. All your support is massively appreciated. Check all the links in the description below for my Patreon and the championships, the Discord server, FPL League Draft Hound, as well as Spotify, and you can also find me on Blue Sky nowadays. Keep your eyes peeled for use of your fantasy videos over the weekend. I'll try to record some tomorrow and on the Monday, but it will be quite hectic to be fair, but I'll still try to find a way to get it done. The deadline stream for Matchday 7 will be headed your way on Tuesday, 2 hours before the deadline. So let's see, which transfer plans do you prefer? Let's see if we can do that. I should probably just flip a coin at this point and be like Two-Face and not trust my own judgment because it has been quite poor recently. Let's put this up. So which transfer plans do you prefer? Let's put Gabriel and Jackson. Probably don't have enough characters, do I? Yeah, Trent and Gakpo. -4. Oh, just about. And then it would be, what, Colwill? So if we look at this one, yeah, Colwill to Canate. And then Joao Pedro, just any budget. Yeah, ugh. Looks a bit disgusting, I'm not going to lie. So yeah, Colwill and Canate. And let's put JP. I can't even, I don't have enough characters to actually make it clear that it would be Arne's slot as well. Yeah, it's just annoying, but it is what it is. Let's put option A. I see a lot of flurry in the chat. I'm going to get to that in a second, so I do apologize for this. Would mean getting on a slot in Gameweek 24. All right, let's put that dumb poll out. Wait, what? Must contain between one... Get out of here, man. Oh, yeah, it's just... That's annoying. The second option. I don't know why YouTube do that thing, by the way, in terms of like having such a short character limit with polls and stuff like that, and also with the image polls that I put out on the community tab. You only could put 4. I'd like to have a bit more, but let's see. Maybe one day. So yeah, something like that. Let's get into the comments. So thank you, Napstars, once again. A massive legend, lad. Let's get this up. Gifting 5 memberships. So Ashwin, Mohit, Kenho, Akraf, and Solar Wind. Enjoy the memberships. You will gain early access to my videos, amongst other perks. So big up to Napstars, and you've already gifted 5 recently, so you definitely don't have to do that again, mate. Thank you very much for that support. As Nixie says, definitely a W. And also Tommy Raw. When we need Salah to save our game week, Nunez suddenly out of nowhere saves Liverpool points. Yeah, Liverpool have depth on the bench in terms of attackers, and Darwin, you know, you could say he's on the way out fairly soon at the end of the season, but he comes off the bench, makes an impact, and gives Liverpool that different something they were lacking, which wins them the game. Arsenal brought on Sterling, and that's it. The other options offensively were academy players who have never played a single minute of professional football. So it goes to show the levels, and that's why Arsenal have been crying out for a striker and a winger for ages now. And with these injuries, I mean, I think it's negligence not signing a single one after 16 days, 18 days of January. I've lost count. Triple captain Salah Game Week 24. Yeah, still for me. Arne Slot, assistant manager, just behind that. It's close, but I'd give the edge to Salah there. Yeah, enjoy it, Mohit. At least something can go our way today after Arsenal. Looking at it in the last 3 games that Liverpool have played, Salah is not the same player he has been. He's been missing a lot of chances, shooting wide. Yeah, look, he had an insane purple patch, if you can call it that. The first half of the season was ridiculous, and I still expect him to be strong very soon, but I said it for time. He's going to have a drop-off, you know. It might seem, you know, crazy to say that when he was scoring braces and getting 3 goal contributions in most matches, but it's just, you can't sustain that for an entire season. But Liverpool have other players who can step up, like Jota against Forest, Darwin today. It'll be Diaz probably in a couple of weeks' time. It's a bit concerning my team having 3 Forest players and 2 Newcastle players when they both have difficult runs, Game Week 25-28. But you got the points on the board in the last couple of matches, which is very important. Surely I'll need to wildcard or start moving some of them out, rolling now. Well, yeah, that's a good point. Not so much of Newcastle this week, of course, but with Forest, you might want to trim that down to 1 or 2 after the next 2 or 3 matches. And with Newcastle, you can do that more gradually. I don't think Fulham at home is terrible for them, although they beat Newcastle 3-1 in the reverse fixture. Hall became a minute's risk today. Yeah, good point. I mean, he was subbed off, which was quite surprising. I'd still expect him to start against Southampton and, you know, have the nod. But when Newcastle go down and they're, you know, trailing a game, Lewis Hall sometimes is kind of sacrificed. And I'm not sure if Eddie Howe sees him as a bit of a weakling defensively at times, but he's had a great season. He had a fairly kind of mediocre start, but he's really pushed on since, and he's been getting, you know, shouts for England and stuff like that. Apart from Robinson, I mean, which left back has been better than him this season? Probably not many, actually. None of these planning sites let you plan with Asman yet. Well, fpl.team do. I'm fairly sure, yeah. From Game Week 24 onwards, you can pick a manager, so I can show you that now. So you just click on the chip, and you can select them. Some of them don't have pictures, but it is what it is. It's still a very good tool here, and it's also got the predicted points in mind, because if we actually get rid of that, it's a massive difference in terms of X points. So, yeah, Arne Slot in for Game Week 24 looks fairly intriguing, to say the least. Let's see what is winning. Trent and Gakpo is still the massive victor there. I think, yeah, João Pedro kind of lets down the other transfer plans in terms of, you know, getting Slot and Konate looks great, but João Pedro really looks a bit disgusting. Yeah, Trent and Gakpo is probably what I'll end up doing. I have to be honest, I think Gakpo will be benched in one of the next 3 Premier League matches. If he can somehow start all 3, that'd be brilliant. And off the bench, I think a lot of these Liverpool players can do pretty well as well. Thanks, Napstars, for the gifted sub, and thanks, Dylan, for answering all our questions. Thank you, Ashwin, for the kind words, and good luck to you as well. Thank you, Mud Ralph, for gifting a membership. Also massively appreciated. All your support goes a long way to pushing the channel, so all I can say is thank you. Yeah, it's been a terrible day, you know, football-wise, but the streams have been good, and it's always a pleasure talking to all of you. Kunal, Trent was threatening all game long. Liverpool were wasting chances. The assist by Trent was a display of fantastic vision. Yeah, I agree. Trent was brilliant today. If we had any concerns about him, you know, in terms of tripling up on Liverpool, there are none now. He is the second best Liverpool asset. The best signing Arsenal could make is a proper manager. Wow. I mean, yeah, look, I've been hearing that a lot recently with Arteta. I do understand the criticisms towards him. I think he deserves a lot of blame and accountability, but I don't know. I think he's done a great job for Arsenal, but is he the man to take them over the line? The evidence would say no, but I do think with a proper front line, it could be a different story. I think one or two quality players could make all the difference for Arsenal. You know, hypothetically, let's say they signed a player of Isak's quality in the summer. They could be leading the league right now. You just never know. I just think the lack of depth and quality in that front line is there for everyone to see. How to watch AFTV before I sleep. I think there are good opinions on there, though. I mean, it showcases a wide range of fan opinions. I don't like it when it gets toxic like it did with the Wenger days. I don't like that at all. But ultimately, they represent what the fan base are feeling. And sometimes I can relate to a fan's opinions. Do you have enough money getting Wissa instead of JP? No, unfortunately not. And because I'm stupid, I've got a triple up in Brentford already. So I've got Vandenberg, Valdimarsson, and Mbumo. So if I want to get Wissa, it would require another hit. So probably not worth it. In defense, I have Gvardiol, Gabriel, Trent, Hall, and Greaves. Should I replace Gvardiol with some cheap defender? If yes, who? Or should I just bench him and roll the transfer? I don't think, look, yeah, Gvardiol, to be fair, doesn't look great against Chelsea or Arsenal, but he's always got that attacking potential. Next week, though, just start Gabriel, Trent, and Hall. That's a really strong backline, arguably the strongest you can build for Gameweek 23. So I'd sell Gvardiol, but not just yet. You can wait another week, maybe go to Mykolenko in Gameweek 24, and then use Mykolenko as your fifth defender, essentially, and then upgrade Greaves in a couple of weeks' time. I think that's the best play for you. Salah blanked, but happy for Nunez. He gets so much slack, I kind of like him. Yeah, I mean, look, if I didn't want Liverpool to flop, I'd probably agree with you, but yeah. I'm off to finish my Hitman playthrough. Good luck with your remaining players, guys. Thank you very much, Jellyfish, and you're doing very well, of course, this week. Yeah, maybe after this stream I'll play some Cyberpunk and kill some people to vent my frustrations. No, don't kill. Do you think people will go for lower table managers for the chip? Well, that's a big appeal of the assistant manager, for sure. And towards the end of the season, it could be a very powerful play. There are so many different ways of playing this chip, to be fair. And I don't think there's a clear-cut strategy. I might just go for Arne Slot myself, especially if I don't buy Trent and Gakpo basically today or tomorrow, and I'm priced out eventually. I think I'll just stick with Arne Slot there. But I don't think... Yeah, do you think people will go for it? Yes, but not that many. It just depends on how you want to tackle it. Do you want to be a bit safer, preserve rank, or just go for it, chase down a 50 to 100 point mini-league deficit, and just go for the kill? Another serve memberships have been gifted, so thank you very much. Let me just get the names up here. Once again, thank you to Ralph for gifting them. Hopefully I'm not butchering your name. I do apologize if I am. Massively appreciated, mate. The same goes to all the others who have sent in super chats and all the patrons and channel members today. Thank you very much. So Fernando G, Gary Duffy, Advalt, Tomer, and Trav the Man, who have never been gifted memberships before, if I'm not mistaken. You can gain access to my videos early on before anybody else. And Use Your Fantasy, if you do play that, you'll gain access to that before any subscriber or viewer in general. So thank you. I can't say thank you enough, really. Hey Dylan, thanks for the stream. Thank you, Sydney, for tuning in. I already did Jesus and Timber to Konate and Gakpo because I only had the exact money. Yeah. And look, Konate is a good investment, I think, if you can't go to Trent. But if money is no object, yeah, Trent is obviously the desirable pick. Yeah, it's looking good, I think, for the double. When looking at how Bournemouth defended today, they are well trained and set up beautifully. A combination of 5 players marked Isak and Gordon. Yeah, their press was brilliant. You're absolutely right. I'm going to watch the game back with the highlights and more in-depth analysis. But yeah, I watched a lot of the first half and the pressing was what really stood out to me. I don't know why YouTube gifted to myself. Great content. Keep up the good work, mate. Yeah, YouTube is... They do it randomly because people always ask me like, oh, why didn't you give me a membership or something? It's literally random. But yeah, you deserve it, mate. Definitely. And I'm not sure. Actually, Napstar's also got it. So I think when you give memberships, you also get one yourself. So you deserve it, mate. Thank you very much. And keep your eyes peeled for those UCL Fantasy and FPL videos. Hopefully you're doing even better than I am in FPL, which isn't hard. But, you know, you don't want to do worse. That's for sure. Hold Watkins Terry. He has 3 amazing fixtures upcoming that rank 2 second on the FDR. Yeah, Watkins, even the week before last when I thought he was going to be benched against Everton, I did highlight him as a hold, but he's an awkward one. You probably don't want to buy with Duran back from suspension, but if you have him, you've got a player that could really make the difference for you in the coming weeks. Something I lack and something I need to address in the coming weeks myself. Should I go ahead with the Watkins to Gakpo move or buy Mateta? I'm not planning to use the Assman chip in Gameweek 24 and have Salah and Van Dijk already. Or should I get Becker for Raya? Would you bench Gakpo for Ahmad? I would not be benching Gakpo for Ahmad next week. I'd start Gakpo all day long, but I think Mohit is right. I think Alisson for Raya in this case might be the best transfer for you. I think Watkins could be a very nice differential, and the goal he scored today was brilliant. Poor defending from Arsenal, but Watkins fully capitalised. I probably would kind of think on it, so don't make a transfer yet. My current, in this reaction stream, I would recommend Alisson in, but in a couple of days' time, of course, things can change, and we can give you a definitive answer, but that would be my current inclination. One way to feel a bit better is to support Brighton versus United tomorrow. Hopefully we win. I'm sorry, but United already 13th, 14th. I couldn't give a crap about them. It's not like United of old where it was United Arsenal going for the title and, I'd feast on their tears and stuff. It's not the case. So, yeah, look, United doing poorly is always welcome, I guess. But honestly, nah. Who's your celebrity crush? What a question that is. First one's probably Jessica Alba, so I guess that's the one. Best player for Double Gameweek? Apart from Salah, Trent Alexander-Arnold would be second. In third, I'd probably go for Gakpo or Van Dijk. And if I could say it, Arne Slot is technically even better than those two, but that's all team dependent. For Everton, Pickford's the best option, then Mikalenko. I would not be looking at anybody else. You could say Tarkovsky, Young, etc., but definitely not an attacker from the Toffees. I haven't activated the assistant manager chip. You can't do it yet. Gameweek 24 is when it's first active. So I'll wait and see first. But yeah, the poll is quite comprehensive. I'm not sure if... I don't know. I'm guessing most of you have read the whole thing, not just the two options. But yeah, the second option does mean getting Arne Slot in Gameweek 24, but a lot of you still don't care. Trent and Gakpo for a -4 hit is your recommendation. Twitch TV for Farner says 43 with 5 to play. Yeah, good score. Decent number of players left. I'd be very happy with that. Is playing triple captain Salah in 24 overrated? Because a lot of managers will do it. 100k or overthinking. You might be onto something there. His form hasn't been great in terms of output. I also think he was quite underwhelming against Spurs in the Carabao Cup semi-final. But I'm still very confident about Salah. Both that and the Arne Slot chip usage in Gameweek 24 could be very useful. So I think both of them are solid, and there are different ways of approaching this double game week. What's your thoughts on using bench boost? I have triple Liverpool and Mikalenko and Pickford on the bench that week. That looks very good. It just depends which players you've got in terms of single game week options to complement that, because you will have more doubles in Game Week 33 and 36, where you'll have even more teams doubling, by the way, and you could have even more doublers in your squad. Assistant chip is risky. Either go with performing team with low points or underperform team with potentially double points more. Either take risk or not, especially taking managers in the mid-table team. Yeah, ultimately, I would recommend using it in a double game week to maximize the potential. I would not use it in Game Week 37 or 38 because the assistant manager chip is active for 3 weeks, and if you use it then, you'll only have 1 or 2 weeks to use it, really. So to take full advantage of it, Game Week 24, 33 or 36 will be my preferences. I think that's probably like the windows to use that chip. Bench 1, Bruno, Ahmad or Murphy. That's difficult. Yeah, it's going to be one of the United attackers there. I'll give you a definitive answer after tomorrow, and we'll see how United do. Bruno has a good record against Brighton and Fulham, which of course is what the question's about. My current preference would be Bruno and Murphy to start, bench Ahmad, but that could definitely change because Ahmad's been United's best player this season, so it's always difficult to bench him, even at his price. No, elder brother. Luckily, I haven't yet, but never say never. Arsenal double defense have been so disappointing lately. Arsenal, in general, have been very disappointing, but you're right. I went there in the Game Week 6 wildcard. I don't think it was a bad decision, but the outcome has been fairly underwhelming. Is Salah slowing down, or was Roslev too good today? Well, Salah was also quite, I'd say, poor against Spurs, United, and also Nottingham Forest. But I still expect some healthy returns in the double and future weeks, just not to the same level as before. You know, that level of performance and output is very difficult to maintain. Only if you're Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo could you do it in, you know, throughout the course of an entire season, or your Lewandowski as well, having a great campaign. Virgil to Trent for the double. Is Alisson the third best Liverpool player? I think the third best Liverpool player is between Virgil and Gakpo. Alisson's good, but I'd rather go for Pickford, to be honest. Should I bring in Trent for Aina? Already have Sells and Pickford as goalkeeper. If that's your only route to Trent, I'd do it. You can always go back to Aina later in the season, especially around Game Week 29, but I don't think Forest will keep that many clean sheets in the next couple, which is great for me. I just bought in Sells. Konate and Van Dijk double up. That's fine by me. I've said this before. A double up offensively is probably the preference, but you're also going to get more rotation there with Gakpo, Diaz, Darwin, Jota, etc. Mbeumo or Wissa from Game Week 24. I like both, but Mbeumo is I think he's the slightly better asset, especially when you look at his consistency, being on penalties. He's the third best midfielder in the game for me, despite the recent blanks. I also need to get rid of Robinson and Iwobi. I want to get Trent and Kluivert. I don't think you need to get rid of Robinson, mate, despite the poor fixtures. Iwobi, fair enough. I've never been a big fan of him, despite the 15-pointer last week. Yeah. Once again, if that's your only route to get Trent, fair enough, I'd sell Robinson, but otherwise, I keep him. I've got Sells, Flecken in goal for me. Already triple up on Liverpool. Salah, Diaz, Trent. Should I get Pickford in for Sells or Flecken in Game Week 23-24? Well, ideally it would be for Flecken, but spending 10 million on goalkeepers, at least in terms of overall value, seems a bit excessive. My preference is always to have one set and forget option starting every week, and you've got a backup like Fabianski if you need to start him, or he's got a great fixture compared to, let's say, Sells facing Man City away, so be it. So, yeah, if you have no problems with budget, I'd recommend selling Flecken instead of Sells, but to be fair, Brentford have great fixtures now. So if you do decide to keep him, I don't blame you. This is my team after next week. I'm thinking of moving Hall to Konate. Keeper, Sells, Valdimarsson, Trent, Hall, Munoz, Nico Williams, Castagna, Gordon, Salah, Ahmad, Palmer, Mbeumo, Isak, Raul, Wood. I like that. Pretty solid team, actually. Of course, there's always room for improvement. You could add Pickford or Mikalenko for the double, but it's not necessary for me. The priority is Liverpool. You've got Trent and Salah already in place, and you've got different options. Arne slot, Gakpo, maybe Konate or Van Dijk. All depends on budget. Yeah, you're pretty well set for Game Week 23 at least. Best goalkeeper now, clean sheets are risky. If you're buying a goalkeeper now, it's Pickford, I think. Sells is still right up there with him, but with the double and you're buying in Game Week 23 or 24, it's probably Pickford, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure where you're getting that from, Arsenal looking at Gyökeres. I mean, they should have looked at him last season, or at least in December, and had some things ready. The groundwork kind of laid out for a January signing, and at least making some approaches in the first few days of the month and the window. But yeah, thank you, David, and thank you to Singh and all the others for moderating the chat. Do you think streaming right after the game day fills a niche that hasn't been filled in the FPL community? Possibly. I have been told this before, that people enjoy the Saturday fresh reactions. More people tend to tune in as well compared to the Sunday. It's more difficult in midweek. That's why there wasn't one, obviously, a couple of days ago. But whenever it's possible, I try to do a reaction stream and also just answer some questions. Opinions change, especially in football and FPL, but it's always good to see what we originally think. Favorite subject when you were in school? I mean, I like PE in general. I always enjoyed playing football and even other sports to try. Then I'm looking at Spanish, English. I'd say English was probably my best subject. But yeah, Spanish at A level, I have to say that did actually help me quite a lot with writing and structuring, because I grew up in England and, you know, yeah, I just don't have like the same level of Spanish as someone who grows up in a Spanish-speaking country would. But yeah, it's probably going to be English, Spanish, and PE. Kind of a weird three subjects to pick, but that's just me. I believe Jacob Murphy came off with some injury today. Yes, that's the problem with him, but if he's fit for Southampton away, I would not be selling. I just monitor that situation, but Eddie Howe is not particularly helpful in press conferences regarding injuries. Yeah, I agree, Twister Parky. Let's not write off Salah too quickly. Not great today, but last week he was very unlucky not to return. Before that, he was amazing. Yeah, I think that's a great way of summing it up. Like I said, when I talked about bad performances, that was mainly against Tottenham and Man United in recent weeks. But yeah, against Forest, I don't think he was that bad. Obviously, Sells made a great save to deny him. But yeah, he was up against a solid defence last week. Against Brentford, it's more surprising. Should I 100% without a doubt triple captain Salah? Not 100%, but if I had it, I'd be playing it on Salah. Maybe it's a bit boring, a bit safe. I'm happy I got it out of the way, to be quite honest with you, and it does open the possibilities for me to go for Arne's slot in 24 instead, which could actually be a blessing in disguise. There are going to be other double game weeks, but even with Salah, who could double in 33, could Liverpool rotate more in that particular double, or even with Haaland in 36, for example? I mean, there's a lot of ifs, buts, and maybes towards the end of the season with rotation. Certain teams would have achieved their objectives. Maybe City don't have anything to play for. But yeah, not 100%, but I'd probably do it. Watkins is now a minute risk, as Duran is now getting minutes. The main question should be next week, which of them is going to get more minutes and points? Well, with Gakpo, it's not even a guarantee he starts Ipswich Town, Bournemouth, and Everton. I think he starts 2 of the 3. I might go for him anyway, to be honest, to fund Trent at the back. But I understand why you're a bit concerned about Watkins. That's why I've talked about kind of just avoiding it if you can. If you've got Watkins, keep him, but otherwise just don't go for that sort of minutes roulette between him and Duran. At the moment, my advice would be to hold him, but I can understand your temptation to switch him to Mateta or Gakpo. Hope Victor lands in the EPL and keeps his Sporting Lisbon form. Yeah, I mean, he scores in virtually every single game. I don't know why, maybe it's the Amrim links, but I could see him at Man United at some point. Napstar says, my defence, Pickford, Timber, Trent, Munoz, Hall, Gvardiol. Would you double up on Liverpool defence? I can move Gvardiol to Van Dijk or Timber to Konate. I have 5 free transfers. Gvardiol to Van Dijk looks slightly better to me. And look, don't get me wrong. It's not like Timber's looking amazing anyway, but yeah, Gvardiol to Van Dijk, that looks really solid. Simon says, hi Dylan, Jackson to Gakpo, the obvious transfer. I would have loved to get Jota for 23-24, if not for his injury issues. I completely agree. Another option could be Robinson to Konate and Jackson to Mateta. That looks very solid, to be fair. I'd probably stick with Jackson to Gakpo though, but what you mentioned towards the end is very appealing. Gakpo or Mateta from Raul. Right now it'd be Gakpo, but Mateta's in better form, no denying that. I'm so jealous for all of you who have triple captain left. Spent it on Haaland much too early. He missed a bunch for that game. What's done is done. Yeah, look, in my case, I used it in Gameweek 2. I'm very happy with the result, but you need some luck sometimes. And actually, I said earlier this season that was my best ever triple captain. That's actually not quite true. I think I triple captained Rashford 2 years ago when he got 20 points and got 60 overall. But yeah, I digress. I mean, I tend to have a very bad record with the triple captaincy. Van Dijk to Trent is such a waste. Van Dijk, good differential. I like Van Dijk a lot for the double. I really would. Yeah, so I'm not sure if it's... Yeah, it's probably a bit sideways, but Trent does have the high ceiling. It's just Van Dijk is nailed on. He's got the set piece for it. And he's got a great record in double game weeks. Whenever I've had the opportunity to buy Van Dijk in a double and I haven't gone for him, I've just regretted it with the big returns he gets. So I do like Van Dijk. I'd probably keep him if he can. If anyone holds the Assman, has all chips apart from triple captain, will it be hard to find a slot to play it later? No pun intended. Possibly, mate. But free hit in Gameweek 29, wildcard in 30, 31, or basically any time before Gameweek 33. Bench boost in that Gameweek maybe. Assistant manager in Gameweek 36. Yeah, that could work fairly well. So it will become more difficult maybe, or at least more limited. You've got fewer options in terms of how you deploy each chip. But that would be one example of how to use all of them. Thank you, Napstars, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Good luck to all for the rest of Gameweek 21. UCL incoming. Yes, looking forward to that slightly. I hope my FPL bad format won't, transform into UCL Fantasy as well. But yeah, it's not going terribly in UCL Fantasy. Still room for improvement though. I'm used to better ranks there. And match day 6 was quite poor for me actually, as I'll talk about in my team selection. But hopefully you do very well and enjoy the Champions League football. Sold Watkins and Martinelli for Gakpo and Gordon. I think that will pay off in Game Week 23, though, if Gakpo starts. Gordon facing Southampton away. It has burned you this week, but that can always happen. Martinelli, fair play to him, very good goal. Had a good chance earlier, but I think he did very well to get to that shot anyway in the first place. Watkins scored a brilliant goal against Arsenal, the equaliser. Yeah, Gakpo and Gordon, though, good transfers. Thank you, Simon. Yeah, Bournemouth players worth it. I think Kluivert or Semenyo are good long-term investments, but I wouldn't buy them now. I'd be looking at them around Game Week 25. Dylan, I believe Timber looked knackered today. The squad depth is very thin at Arsenal with the injuries. Yeah, let me actually go back to my actual team, which looks much worse than the fpl.team squad I'm showing you. I think Timber had a good start to the game, making some good interceptions. He looked very quick, but yeah, Timber's been overplayed. I've mentioned this before. He's playing right back. When White was available, he was on the left. Now he's playing centre-back to cover Saliba, who's injured. It's been a disastrous season for Arsenal in terms of injuries. One issue I also find with Arsenal is it's not just the first choice being injured, it's the replacement for that player. We saw that a few years ago with Saliba and Tomiyasu in the same game, and obviously that cost them a lot in that title race. But yeah, look, injuries are part of the game. Arsenal have found a way to adapt in certain matches, but yeah, it's just been a stop-start season and no momentum. It's just been very frustrating from start to finish. It's probably the least enjoyable season I've had, both FPL-wise and also supporting Arsenal. I think the expectations also plays a big part in that. I got Foden and Gvardiol. I definitely will sell Gvardiol for Mikolenko, and I'm thinking of selling Foden to Mbumo. Thoughts? Could Foden start becoming main man or sell immediately? Well, 5 returns in the last 5 games. He has stepped up for Man City recently, but with the fixtures coming up and the alternatives elsewhere, I think Mbumo's a good upgrade, to be honest. Yeah, that's a good transfer. Gvardiol to Mikolenko. It's not the sexiest pick, so to speak, but Mikolenko's a nice option for the double. As your 4th-5th defender, he can work fairly well. Triple Forest for me tomorrow in Challenge. Same here. I've got Sells, Milenkovic and Elanga captain. If Slot gives Nunez a chance after his brace, then Gakpo Diaz could be competing to start on the left. You're right about that. Yeah, that could cause some problems for the double and the minutes. I still think Gakpo is first choice on the left. But yeah, if Diaz has a great game and also Darwin continues to make an impact, we could see Gakpo benched in maybe 2 of the next 4 matches, and then you regret buying him in. I can't use the triple captaincy, mate. I used it in Game Week 2 on Erling Haaland, thankfully. It was a good result. In Game Week 24, I might use the assistant manager chip. It all depends on my transfers now. That will kind of lock me in for my chip strategy or lack of chip usage in 24. Since you're an Arsenal fan and you need strikers, who would you like to sign by ranking? I'm not sure if I want to actually do this because, yeah, we're not going to get any of them, are we? So overall, my preference would be Isak number 1, but it's not happening in January. In the summer, it'll be difficult, but you got to get it done. I think for January, a realistic signing that could really help Arsenal would be Mbumo. He can play in both wing positions, particularly on the right. He can cover for Saka, and he can play down the middle. Yeah, and he's also Premier League proven, good age. Sesko's a bit too raw. I think he's got potential. But, yeah, look, I think Sesko's highly rated by Arsenal and the hierarchy. I could see him signing at some stage, but yeah, Mbumo's my ideal January signing, and the dream one overall is Isak. Osimhen is a clinical finisher. He's a killer. He's rapid as well. But at the same time, I just don't see him joining Arsenal. I really don't. But if I had to rank them, it'd be Isak first, Gyökeres second, Mbumo 3rd, Osimhen 4th, and Sesko 5th, I guess. Mbumo's my dream January signing, who's quite realistic, so to speak, but it's not happening, is it? Same here, just 1 goal from Haaland. I only used triple captaincy early because of FA Cup, screwed doubles, or so we thought. Yeah. It's a very strange season, isn't it? Sarr to Smith Rowe. I wouldn't be buying Smith Rowe now. He's got a good record against Leicester, scored today, but nah, I wouldn't be buying Smith Rowe. It's my first season playing FPL, I guess. UCL is more enjoyable to top 1.4 million and top 20k in UCL. Yeah, it's kind of a similar story for me too. Much better in UCL Fantasy, but I've had my frustrations in that game as well. Not buying Saka obviously cost me in match day 6. It saves me a transfer now, at least in match day 7, looking at the positives, but yeah, it's just not been great overall. In relation to my bench boost question, my squad for the double will be Alisson, Pickford, Mikolenko, Aina, Munoz, Gabriel, Castagna, Eze, Salah, Palmer, Gordon, Rodgers, Isak, Gakpo, Wood. yeah, you'd have a fairly decent bench, actually. You could actually do something like Eze. Just looking at your weakest players on paper. Yeah, Pickford, Eze, Wood, and Rodgers. Yeah, that's bench boostable, to be fair. I don't mind that. Sydney says, hey Dylan, thanks for the stream. I'm thinking of selling Jackson and Wood for Solanke and Mateta. Am I mad? No, I don't think so. Solanke's going under the radar. Leicester at home up next. I think Spurs could go on a run, and it's kind of due for them because they're in a terrible league position. Mateta's in excellent form. I think he will dip eventually, but the fixtures are there, the form is, and Palace are really impressive away from home. 7 games unbeaten in the Premier League. Yeah, I think they're good moves. I really do. But I also like Gakpo, and in a few weeks' time, you might be looking at Cunha, and one of Solanke or Mateta could be your cash cow or your direct replacement for him. This is my first year of fantasy football, currently around 300k in FPL and 3.3k UCL. And that's a great start, mate. That's really good. Normally, when people are starting, they're in a much lower rank than that. But it's all about enjoying it, kind of learning things about the game, finding approaches that suit you. It's a great start. Hopefully you finish strongly. Cunha is injury prone. He is yellow flagged right now because of illness. I don't think he's injury prone. Arsenal need Cunha. I like Cunha as a player. Even if Arsenal sign him, though, they need another attacker at least. Preferably 2 more, but that's not happening. I got Foden and Gavardio. I'm finished right now. I definitely will sell Gavardio for Mikalenko. Oh yeah, I covered this earlier, sorry. Yeah, Foden, can he become the main man or so immediately? I don't think he's an immediate sell, but I'd probably take the plunge and move to Mbeumo. That would be my preference. I have 8 played, 32 points. Palmer, captain, Jackson, Wood left. Yeah, great players left. I would assume Palmer starts, and if he does, that's a great differential shout, comparing him to the Salah effective ownership. 32 points isn't great with 8 players, having played, but yeah, you've got some strong options tomorrow and on Monday. Welcome KDB17. Hi Dylan, greetings from Greece. I am waiting on Palmer captain, Wood, Ahmad and Pedro, 28 now. Yeah, similar story to who knows. You've got good players left. I'm actually quite optimistic about Joao Pedro against Man United tomorrow, so that could work fairly well. Dylan, when chasing rank, what is a good number of differentials to have? It seems that I have 6 players that are the same as most managers. I don't think there's an exact formula to this. There never is in FPL. It's a lot of luck involved, some good decision making and planning, and you hope for the best. But yeah, I think 3 or 4 differentials in your starting 11 when you're chasing is good. And it's also about the combination of players, not just having a 5% or lesser owned player in your team and just hoping that performs miracles for you. It's also about the combination. Foden will start hauling second half of the season like last year. I mean, he's already started technically, but you could be right. It's Chelsea and Arsenal up next. He could score in one of those games. And yeah, City are looking better offensively, but still a lot of work to be done. Yeah, don't think about Arsenal won't get anyone. I think Arsenal will get some of them. They have to, right? At least a loan signing. But out of those players mentioned by Easy99, I'd be shocked if they get one of them. Twisted Parky puts his team. Budget, not much of an issue. Thoughts? Good goalkeeper, albeit poor fixtures coming up. Solid defensive line overall. Vandenberg's the only weak link. Yeah, I like the midfield. It's very strong. And the front line, you could move Jackson to Gakpo to be fair, but you've got Trent, Salah. Yeah, if you wanted to triple up on Liverpool, it's what, Van Dijk or Konate in defensively, or you go for Gakpo up front. That's something for you to weigh up. Or you go for Arne Slot, but I'm not sure what your chip strategy is. That is my current plan animations, and the poll is quite one-sided and resounding, but my alternative is to just downgrade Jackson to Joao Pedro or a budget forward, and then go for Arne Slot in Gameweek 24. I also love Arsenal. It's annoying me a lot. I love Arteta. Our fellow Arsenal fans are annoying as fuck. Yeah, look, Arteta's done a great job for Arsenal, and we can't forget he has changed the expectations. Arsenal are now, they're second in the league and third in the Champions League, and they're pissed off about that. But it's also about context. I mean, how many years have gone by and Arsenal haven't signed a striker of top quality? Even, after the run in last year when, Havertz, Trossard performed, it was so clear that Arsenal needed at least 2 attackers, and they got Sterling on loan, which just wasn't enough. He's not even trusted by Arteta. I don't think he even wanted him, but it's just pure negligence from the board, the hierarchy. Who knows what happened with Edu, with him leaving. And with Arteta, I think he's made some big mistakes this season. In previous years, I've mainly looked at the players where maybe Arteta's coached a win, so to speak, and the players just can't finish their chances. It's happened a lot this season too, but when the same things keep happening time after time again, you also look at the manager there. I'm not saying he should be sacked. In fact, I think he should stay, but he's also part of the problem right now, in my opinion. Papa says, hi Dylan, Timber to Mikalenko and Raul to Gakpo, or Foden to Mbeumo and Raul to Gakpo. I have Salah and Trent or Asman on slot. Yeah, they all look quite promising, actually. If I had to pick one set of transfer plans, oof, that's very difficult, actually. If you've got Gabriel or Raya already, as well as Timber, I would consider Timber to Mikalenko and Raul to Gakpo, but yeah, the priority should be Liverpool, of course. Foden to Mbeumo looks really solid, but you could wait a few more weeks if money is no issue for you. Arne Slot. Yeah, I think Arne Slot would be my preference out of all of them, actually. Yeah, Arne Slot is the best one. Really? I just saw this now. Solanke out injured 6 weeks, been reported. I haven't seen that. That must be something really recent. I mean, if that's true, Spurs have been very unfortunate with injuries this season. Let's see if I can get that up. Solanke. Yeah, I don't know. The source seems a bit questionable. Oh. Okay, no. Okay, no, Paul O'Keefe has reported he's reliable. Yeah. That's terrible news for Solanke owners and also for Tottenham Hotspur. Wow. Yes. So Dominic Solanke is injured. Thank you for pointing me in that direction, because it's basically blown up since we've been streaming, so I haven't been able to check it. Yeah, very bad news there. Hi Dylan, I'm looking at getting a third Liverpool player, and I can't decide between Trent and Gakpo. For me it's Trent, no doubt about it. Trent over Gakpo. Going for both is nice. You know, I don't mind that, but it's Salah first, Trent second, Arne Slot third, and if you just want players, it's between Gakpo and Virgil for that third spot. Kanate is also a decent alternative at a cheaper price point. I wouldn't really look beyond those 5, although Alisson's fine as a goalkeeper. He's fairly injury prone, and Pickford is a better option longer term. Dylan, articles say they are seriously considering the 100 million contract release. Yeah, it's just I'm not sure, you know, what these sources are in the articles. And with Arsenal, I've heard it so many times about, oh, they're looking to make movements, or maybe they'll do it in the summer. I'm kind of sick to death of Arsenal transfer news. I try to shut myself off from that, but hopefully you're right and they do get someone of that quality in. I just don't see it. I already have triple Liverpool, Trent, Diaz and Salah. That's fine. Diaz is the only questionable one in terms of minutes and form. Should I keep Kluivert or move up to Mbeumo? I think you keep Kluivert at this point. Not the best in the next 2. I think Mbeumo's better. And I certainly wouldn't mind making the transfer, but in a couple of weeks, they do face Southampton. They've got some really good fixtures, Bournemouth long term. Wilson 7-pointer, 0.9% selected. Yeah, when you've got a differential with Hawes, it's a nice feeling. Yeah, Harry Wilson. I've not highlighted him in a transfer tips video, but in a deadline stream, for example, I have mentioned him quite a lot in, you know, in terms of differentials. It's good that he's actually doing well for somebody here. Dylan, with Solanke injured, this means that Kulusevski will start in the number 9 as he did in pre-season. It also means that Maddison will feature regularly now, as will Brennan Johnson. Yeah, it could be a blessing in disguise for those FPL assets, but not having Solanke is still a huge miss, and he gives them something different. Gunners fans have embarrassed themselves time after time again over their manager protests. Yeah, from that perspective, I agree with you. I can't really, you know, deny that. Look, Wenger probably should have gone, and I love Arsene Wenger, but the way he was treated by some Arsenal fans is disgraceful. You know, he's Arsenal's biggest legend, arguably, you know, even over some of the best players in their history. Thoughts on Gay if you can't afford Munoz? He has been fairly decent in recent weeks with the odd attack and return here and there. I don't think it's a terrible option, but not ideal. If you can stretch to Munoz, I'd highly recommend it. Bonus points potential, goals and assist threat, great underlying stats. Knee injury in training this morning. Yes, you are correct. Yeah, Paul O'Keefe also saying it's a knee injury. Yes, wow, pretty bad news. How long do you think it will be before the whole community calls the chip Asman? You're gonna be a legend, Dylan. I think it's been called that before. I've seen it in like comments of mine and stuff like that. It's been called Assman. It's not my own thing. Yeah, it is a tier 1 source. When is the live stream for UCL Match Day 7? It's always on the day of the deadline, so it'll be on Tuesday. I typically do streams 2 hours before the deadline in FPL, but for UCL Fantasy, it tends to be, what, 2 hours 15 minutes, 2 hours 30 minutes before. So 4:30 p.m. UK time, if I'm not mistaken. No, 3:30 p.m. UK time I'll start. It could even be earlier if I've got some time on my hands and I can have an even longer live stream, because those tend to be very busy. There's a lot of questions, and I'll try to answer all of them, as I typically do. So, Pilotopus, hopefully I haven't butchered that. Sounds like a great name, by the way. I've gone mad and sent the bench boost with triple Liverpool, Newcastle, Spurs against Ipswich, Southampton, Leicester, respectively, plus Sells, Wood, Palmer, Rogers, Veltman. Looks great. I'm not going to lie. It actually looks very solid with those single game weeks. I typically advise people against the bench boost, but in your case, that looks very solid on paper. Also good squad value. Is 42 points good with 3 players to go? I think so. It's not locked in, Eunuch. The assistant manager chip I might use in Gameweek 24, but if not, I'll be looking to use it around Gameweek 36. The free hit will likely be deployed in Gameweek 29, but it isn't certain. Then wildcard shortly afterwards to then set up a bench boost around Gameweek 33. That's kind of my plan right now, but it's not set in stone. When Bournemouth face Saints, etc., would you bring in Kluivert, Semenyo in for Rodgers or Gordon? Oh, yeah. I mean, I just bought Gordon in, of course, myself. So, yeah, I would consider it. Maybe I would for Rodgers. I'd like Gordon long-term, unless Newcastle suffer a massive dip. But, yeah, it would be for Rodgers if I had to pick one. If you had a bench of Raya, Rodgers, Gabriel and Greaves, double Everton defence and triple Liverpool in Gameweek 24, would you play your bench boost instead of triple captain? I think what lets down the bench boost, if I can say that, is Jacob Greaves. And also, Raya and Gabriel against Man City, it's not the best, especially considering Arsenal's recent form. They're conceding multiple goals, and for them to drop points from a 2-0 lead today is something we haven't seen in ages. They actually have a great record this season from, well, actually not this season, but over the last couple of years, in terms of when they take the lead, they pretty much never lose, right? But today felt like a loss for them. And I do think City score in that game, actually. So I'd probably say no. I'd rather triple captain. Dylan, what's your real take on Justin Kluivert? It seems dangerous owning more than one asset. That's 5.5 million or less. Yeah, I think 2's maybe okay or manageable, but I definitely wouldn't go for 3 budget midfielders. I'd rather go for Mbeumo and Gordon if you can, or players at that sort of consistency and price tag. Kluivert, I'm more keen on now after today's hat-trick. I wasn't so much against Wolves because that was a hat-trick of penalties, which is very rare to see. Yeah, Rodgers has Ipswich, that is true. And I do like Rodgers long-term. Rise says, thoughts on transfers, 2.7 million in the bank, 2 free transfers, Sell, Sanchez, Aina, Gabriel, Robinson, Hall, Greaves, Salah, Palmer, Sarr, Iwobi, Rodgers, Wood, Isak, and Jackson. Well, Iwobi was subbed off early today, and he could be sellable, to be honest. Sarr as well. Frontline is fine, but maybe Jackson could be your cash cow. So in your case, you might be looking to buy Trent. And in terms of who to replace, I mean, ideally it's Greaves, but if not, it's going to be one of Aina, Gabriel, Robinson, Hall. That's going to be difficult, but I would try to buy Trent if you can. If not, Konate and Van Dijk are decent alternatives. Jackson could be downgraded to Gakpo. And then in the coming weeks, I think Iwobi and Sarr could also make way. Only way I can get Trent is Gabriel to Trent or a cash cow using Bruno. Would you still do that to get Trent? Ideally, I'd sell Bruno Fernandes to make that possible, but he's got a good record against Fulham. So that might be slightly iffy. Gabriel to Trent is something I might do myself. It's not ideal, but it does seem like the simplest plan to triple up on Liverpool. I'm from India, and here it's like 9-10 euros per year to watch the Premier League. The cost to watch in Europe, I've heard, is crazy. You're absolutely right. You know, I'm not sure about the exact prices, but if you have a BT Sport or TNT Sport and Sky Sports subscription, you're going to pay how much per month? Like £60 per month, and you're not even going to see all the games. You know, you got the 3 p.m. blackouts on Saturday. You know, I go to Argentina and I see more matches there live, you know, on TV than you can in the UK, which is ridiculous. Salah triple captain with Trent and Gakpo. Diaz will outscore Salah captain with Trent, Gakpo and Arne Slot. Possibly. Diaz, Gakpo, I still prefer Gakpo out of those two. Salah triple captain or Arne Slot, I'd probably favour Salah triple captaincy slightly, but he needs to step up, and I think he will. Very annoyed I didn't go with Palmer captain, was afraid that he could start on the bench and come in really late if the game was going sour. Might as well start. Well, it's easy to say this now. Yeah, maybe last week, a reason why I went off Isak with the captaincy was the yellow flag, and that probably played too many mind games on myself, and I should have just stuck with Isak. But in this case, I don't have too many regrets. I think Salah's a good option, just a bad outcome. But for those that went for Palmer, he was second in my list for captaincy, and I think he starts and gets a good return. Sell Gvardiol for Mikalenko, sell Foden for Mbumo, Robinson for Virgil, and Pedro for Gakpo for a -8. Thoughts? You don't... Well, actually, you might need to sell Gvardiol to Mikalenko to fund the other moves. Otherwise, try to not take it for Mikalenko if you can. You know what? Yeah, Foden to Mbumo, Robinson to Virgil, and Pedro to Gakpo. If you can afford that for a -4, do it. And you can buy Mikalenko for free next week. But if budget is an issue, let me know. It probably is the case. Gordon looks like a hole till Gameweek 34, to be honest. Some tough fixtures in between, but other than that, pretty decent. Yeah. And Southampton away is one of the key reasons why I bought him in, even though it's probably a bit too late in my case. I'm in the top 10k. I don't have Isak. Should I buy him for the next few game weeks? I would if you can. I mean, he's got Southampton away next, Fulham at home. His streak might be over, so he's not going to break Jamie Vardy's record, but he could easily score in the next 4 games in a row for sure. The only downside to this is that he blanks in Game Week 29 unless Arsenal make a miraculous comeback, and I mean it's miraculous, it's not going to happen. People not Kluivert yet, he's going to find Forest and Liverpool tough. I agree. I will not be buying Kluivert or Semenyo this week, despite the fact Semenyo scored in the reverse fixture against Nottingham Forest. Yeah, on paper, right? And FPL just hasn't been played on paper this season. He might get a pen in though, says Fast there. Bournemouth probably score versus Liverpool. Yeah, I think so. Should I give up on Arsenal double defence, have Gabriel and Raya? But just feel it will turn a tide once I do. They don't concede many chances. Yeah, it does seem like opponents are fairly clinical against Arsenal, but I also think the constant changes in the 11 have disrupted the balance. You know, you've got Timber at the start of the season playing left back, whilst White was the right back. Then the injury to White has moved Timber to the right. Then injuries to Calafiori has put Lewis Skelly, who was basically 5th choice left back this season, you know, into the equation. Jiren Timber played centre back today with Saliba out injured. I don't think any of that helps. With White potentially back very soon, Saliba should be back in 1 to 2 weeks. I think Arsenal could go on a decent run defensively. And this time last year, it took them until late January, early February to go on that massive run and push City all the way, and they should have won it, to be honest. But yeah, I think it's a bit different this time. I think Arsenal do seem a bit shakier, especially in recent weeks compared to last season. In Germany, it's €25 per month and you can watch every single game. It's ridiculous, really, isn't it? But not surprised. Not surprised at all. From earlier, the thing I didn't like about Sky Sports Fantasy was the allocation of transfers, and once used, you are screwed. I agree. Yeah. It did make you very careful with your moves. That's a good thing about it, but it did seem very restrictive. I agree with that. And was not straightforward to see what you have left. Fair enough. I mean, yeah, it's not a perfect game. I like the tier system for the tackles, passes, and shots, for example. My plan is Jackson to Gakpo in Game Week 23, then Gordon to Mbumo in 24 or 25, and maybe I can do Wood to Wissa, but not too sure about that. I like those plans. And with Wood to Wissa, if you're not free hitting in 29, you might want to go back to Chris Wood when Nottingham Forest host Ipswich Town. Should I keep Cunha? I think he's a sell for now, and you go back to him around Game Week 27. I wonder how many people sold Kluivert for Ahmad after last week. I don't think it's many, but there's a fair few out there, I'd say. Thoughts on transfers? Got Martinez, Hall, Robinson, Gabriel, Gvardiol, Van Heck, Salah, Palmer, Sarr, Gordon, Rogers, Wood, Isak, Mateta. So the players that would be on the chopping block are Martinez in goal, and you can go to Pickford or Sells, and Pickford's my preference with a double in mind. Gvardiol is on the chopping block, Van Heck as well. I know Gabriel's been poor recently, but if you can, I would hold on to him. And then in the midfield, I think that's absolutely fine. Sar's the only one I'd recommend selling. So, interesting. You could do something like Sar to Amad Diallo or Kluivert in a few weeks' time, but hold off from that for now. I'd focus on Pickford in for Martinez. Try to buy Trent if you can. If you need to sell Gabriel or Gvardiol, I'd recommend doing that. But yeah, the priority for you should be tripling up on Liverpool for Double Gameweek 24. If you want to go for Arne Slot though, then that's fine. Go for one player and Trent will be the preference. Man U have no real consistent good fixtures till the end of the season. When do you think it's a good time to get Bruno or just miss completely? Well, United are a bit strange themselves, right? They can perform well against Liverpool and Arsenal, but then in the easier games against Southampton, they leave it late and they drop points against some very questionable teams, so to speak. But I think Fernandes is decent. He doesn't offer the best value. Amad, though, at that price, I don't think there's any complaints. Even with no extended fixture run, I'd be very happy with Amad Diallo. World Cup 38 points of 4 to play and 18 points on the bench would be awful, but Green Arrow. Yeah, good score though. Good score. I think you're in a good position this week, unlike me. Is Saliba a sell for Van Dijk maybe? Yeah, Saliba should be out for 1 to 2 weeks according to reports. He'll miss Dynamo Zagreb in matchday 7 for UCL Fantasy and Wolves away in the Premier League. He'll be back afterwards, but it's Man City. Then you've got West Ham and Leicester, but ultimately you just sell. If an announcement of Double Gameweek 25 was made for Spurs and Fulham before the Gameweek 24 deadline, would you recommend playing your Assman chip instead of triple captain? I think so. You know, back-to-back doubles. You switch from Arne Slot to Postecoglou or Silva, and then you can go to Maresca or Arteta in Gameweek 26. That could work really well. I'm not against that. Also, in Berlin, you can use all transport for a month for 50 quid. Yeah, sounds good on paper, to be fair. I mean, yeah, in London, for example, what is it, 150, 175 for a bus ticket. And depending on which trains you get, it's like £2-3. Don't think Gabriel's been poor. Cheated by FPL last week. Yeah, look, Gabriel himself has been great. One of the shining lights of Arsenal season. But FPL-wise, it's 4 consecutive blanks. Ultimately, yeah, I think, I understand why he didn't get any points last week. I do feel differently about that after seeing the replays. I'm 0.1 million off being able to afford Jackson to Gakpo and Greaves to Trent. Oh, yeah, that's so frustrating. That would have been perfect. On paper, anyway. You might want to go for Mateta instead of Gakpo. Maybe that's your entry to Trent Alexander-Arnold, and you go for Arne Slot instead with extra money. How you make that possible in Gameweek 24 is a different question. I have Emi Martinez from Gameweek 4. He's been making me angry, so couldn't get a chance to remove him. Today, Fabianski was so unlucky not to save the penalty today. Again, made me mad. Fabianski's got a good record from penalties, but we haven't really seen it this season. Yeah, ultimately, though, I would make a goalkeeper transfer, which is not something I like to recommend. I made one today, of course, selling Raya. You would expect sales to pay that off this week, but I'm not really optimistic about my transfers. They've been pretty woeful since December, really. The last month has been quite poor from me, anyway. One thing putting me off, Assman is playing Palm and Jackson versus City, even though they're not playing at their best. Yeah, that's what I mean. One decision affects others in terms of who you sell. When do you keep a certain player? Do you play them in a difficult fixture on paper? I don't think Palmer's bad, though, against City. Jackson is just so erratic in front of goal, especially in big games. Mateta, Isak, Watkins, would you transfer anyone for Gakpo? If I had to pick one, it's probably Watkins, but he's got good fixtures, and the only concern with him is minutes, with Duran taking some starts from him, which we haven't seen recently, but you would expect that to be the case fairly soon. About team value, smart, for example, to sell Hall and Cash in 0.3 million. I value rise or bother about team value, minutes risk increase. Team value is important, but I wouldn't make too many transfer decisions based on that. If you're really set on buying a certain, a set of players, let's say, and you're going to be priced out, like in my case, buying Trent and Gakpo, in that case, you pull the trigger early and you kind of chase that sort of value, so to speak. But otherwise, I wouldn't be thinking about that too much. Yeah, Bowen could be a really interesting one. I could see him thriving under Graham Potter. They were disappointing today, but Palace have been in great form away from home. Ori says, hey Dylan, I have to ask you as an Arsenal fan, do you think Odegaard is overrated? I own him in FPL, so I'm a bit swayed, but I think he's overrated by most. Your opinion? I think Odegaard is an inconsistent player. I think he is brilliant. On his day, he runs the show. Even against United, despite missing the penalty and some big chances, he created 10 opportunities, including 4 big ones. Against Spurs, played very well. But yeah, I mean, there are periods where he has like an extended run. So a few years ago, he scored 15 Premier League goals, all, from open play. Last season, from December to the end of the season, he was very good in most matches. But he does have the occasional match where you do think Odegaard's anonymous. I think he was today. And you expect more from him as the captain and as the most talented Arsenal player. I think he's more talented than Saka, but Saka's more consistent. He has that output. And that's why, for me, Saka is Arsenal's best player. Odegaard is one of the best ones. He's world-class for me, but I understand why you think that, to be fair. I think he's inconsistent. That's why, generally speaking, I don't recommend Odegaard in FPL. Although I do want to sell Emi Martinez, there's no standout goalkeeper available. Yes, Pickford or sells for me. I just think they offer better value. They'll keep more clean sheets, but the problem with Forest is their fixtures are quite tough now until Gameweek 29. Is it obvious to go triple Liverpool in the double game week? Well, the standouts are Salah and Trent, then it's up in the air. You're looking at Van Dijk or Gakpo for me as your third Liverpool player. And ultimately what I think decides it is your team situation. So if you've got a terrible defence and you can buy Van Dijk, go for Van Dijk. But also up front, if you've got some issues there and going to Gakpo makes sense for you, that is probably the best move in your case. But I would rank both of them higher than, let's say, Luis Diaz and Jota, of course, with the injury. Diaz, of course, was ill and played fairly poor today. Arne Slot is my favourite third Liverpool asset for Gameweek 24, but you need 1.5 million in the bank on top of your 15-man squad. I'm not a big fan of Calvert-Lewin. I wouldn't make that transfer this week for sure. As you get to Gameweek 24, if that's like your only budget forward you can buy, who's got a double, yeah, it's just I can't bring myself to recommend Calvert-Lewin until I see something from him. He does a lot of dirty work for Everton, good hold-up play, but the finishing is terrible. Maybe one penalty changes everything, and he gets 9 points against Leicester. But it's just a lot of ifs, buts, and maybes. Thoughts on Pickford and Mikalenko for double game week? One's enough, in my opinion. I might go for both. I mean, in my case, probably not now because I bought sells today, but I was looking at maybe buying both and then having Salah, Trent, and Gakpo. I mean, that's arguably the best, 5 players you can go for. I don't think it's worth tripping up on Everton longer term. But Pickford's the standout. Mikalenko's just your 4th, 5th defender who might do something against Leicester, and that's about it. Is Fernandes to Son worthy of a move in Gameweek 23? I wouldn't go to Son, personally. That's just my take on it. Dylan, do you think Arsenal need another centre-back to cover for both Saliba and Gabriel? Look at City, they have multiple centre-backs, as do Liverpool. The thing is, though, Timber is a centre-back by trade, but it's also about partnerships, and Timber coming in alongside Gabriel, we've seen that once this season, really. And even last year, of course, we haven't seen much of Timber with the ACL injury he sustained in Gameweek 1 against Forest. But on paper, Ben White, centre-back by trade, Tomiyasu also can play centre-back, but a lot of them have just been injured this season, and a few of them are just too injury-prone. Kivior is a decent squad player, but having said that, if you need him to start 5, 6, 7 games in a row, you're going to find some issues. Although, to be fair to him, last season in the run-in, he did very well at left-back, but I think the priority for Arsenal has to be the attackers, and then you look at the midfield, add another option, especially when Odegaard is out injured. Kulusevski was doing well in pre-season as the number 9. Yeah, I agree. It's a very good shout. With the Solanke injury news, I think my transfer plans have changed. I'll now sell Jackson and Enzo for Mateta and Kulusevski. That's a nice differential play, to be honest. And if I'm looking at a Spurs attacker now, I think Kulusevski rises to the top of the list for the reasons you say. Wow, so ever since I recommended buying Solanke, he scored an own goal against Arsenal, then gets injured. I'm just cursing everyone at this point, and I didn't want to. Since Odegaard's injury, I don't know why his finishing has dropped so much. His passing and everything is amazing, but I remember before his injury, his finishing was much better. I think since last year, though, his finishing has been poor. I don't know where the goals have dried up. What's happened to his finishing since 2 years ago when he scored 15 goals from open play. This season, he's got 0 from open play, which is ridiculous. Respect your opinion and get your view. I got him in FPL because it's a move I usually don't make, but it didn't work. Who would you bring in for him? Already have Sarr and Rodgers. What's this in relation to? Odegaard. Yeah. Well, Mbeumo or Gordon are great transfers this week. I think long-term Mbeumo is the preference, but yeah, it's all a question of timing, right? You've also got Rodgers and Ahmad at a cheaper price point. They'll offer better value. But yeah, it's probably going to be one of Mbeumo or Gordon for me. Mbeumo's my favourite. Konate is fine, Henrik. I just think he's a little bit less nailed on than Van Dijk. Although, of course, Joe Gomez is injured, and that plays a big part. You would expect Konate to start both in the double. I do think Van Dijk has more aerial threat, though. It's just a question of if you've got the money, it's no issue for you, and it doesn't affect other moves. Van Dijk would be my preference. Arsenal need more forwards, not centre-backs. For a second, I thought you were going to say fans. Yeah, I agree. And Calafiori as well. Technically a centre-back by trade. What are the lessons we should have learned so far this season in FPL? There's a lot of things you could say, but I think ultimately fixtures it's still important, but you can't judge everything off fixtures and just sell a player when they've got poor games coming up, and maybe that will work in my favour with some of my transfers in recently. But yeah, I just think the league is so competitive in terms of there isn't a clear standout team besides Liverpool. I think it's so close between the rest of the pack, and you're going to see a lot of upsets. So ultimately, show patience with your players and don't look too much into fixtures. Keep them in mind, but don't base everything you do based on, oh, this team has poor games coming up, I'm going to sell. Need to recover 130 points. Any tips? Have a clear plan of your chip strategy. So Gameweek 24, if you've got the triple captaincy available, I'd recommend using it, but you've also got the possibility of using the assistant manager chip. That could be your ticket to taking up that deficit. Yeah, I don't want to be Frankie, but, having said that, Trent and Gakpo, here we come. Let's see what they do. Do you think Arteta has the backing from the board to buy players? I think he does, and he has spent a lot of money, but also a lot of the money that has been spent already has been on clearing out deadwood, paying out contracts, basically getting rid of players for free, and then rebuilding the squad. So I do think, when people say Arteta spent so much, yes, he has spent a lot, but it's nowhere near Chelsea, for example, have spent 3 times the amount in the same time frame, and other clubs as well have spent more. But yeah, I do think he has the backing of the board. It's just I don't see enough ambition or a clear plan to buy quality forwards and get Arsenal over the line. I have, for example, 3 Liverpool players. You have to get rid of one of them to get Arne Slot, as covered earlier. Is it possible that, like Saka, we have overplayed Odegaard too? Yeah. And not having a replacement for him, and technically that was Nwaneri, who was a cover for Saka and Odegaard, and now he's injured. Yeah, Odegaard, Timber have all been overplayed. And Odegaard's just not that kind of player who's going to get you a lot of goals, unfortunately. We thought that after, what he did 2 years ago, but it's just not the case. It's unnatural seeing Odegaard play the way he has this season. Yeah, he had a pretty poor start last season, though, if we're not, if we're being real. But he really made up for it in the run-in. Triple captain Trent, maybe. It's not a terrible option, but I don't see Liverpool keeping a clean sheet in both. I think they'll concede in one of them at least. But Trent's ceiling is always high with the assists. Do I do Mbeumo and Wissa for Jackson and Enzo for a -4, or sell Raya for one of Pickford or Alisson? I like the Mbeumo and Wissa transfers, but my preference would be Pickford in for Raya. Not a great move for Gameweek 23, but long-term, set and forget option. Although we won't know all the possible fixtures yet, have you looked at alternative times to play the Assman and differential managers? Yeah, Gameweek 36 on Pep Guardiola. Could have a double comprising of Southampton away, then facing Bournemouth at home, which to be fair doesn't look that easy now, but that's a great possibility. I haven't seen too many specific examples, but that's one that really stands out to me. Arne Slot, if he doubles in Gameweek 33, is another nice option. Also, just going for single Gameweek managers is also a play, but if I had to pick, it's going to be a double Gameweek. So Gameweek 24, 33 or 36 is my current plan. A-Man is a wild card. I'm saving it for rainy days unless Spurs get a double Gameweek as well. Yeah, but Spurs are so inconsistent. It's a high-risk, high-reward scenario, in my opinion, where if it goes well, he looks brilliant, but otherwise, you just think, why did I go for the Spurs manager? Do you really believe in your heart Arteta can make Arsenal Premier League champions? Well, this season, no, I don't think Arsenal will win the league, and I've felt that for some time. I had that sensation with the repeated injuries and also what's happened at the beginning of the season, let's say. I mean, look, Arteta did a great job. I think no one expected them to challenge 2 years ago. So you could say Arsenal were ahead of schedule then. Last year, they had a great end to the season and were just short against the great Man City side. But this year, there's not really any excuses. They didn't how do I say this? They didn't bolster enough in the forward line in the summer window and made the necessary transfers to get Arsenal over the line. So, on one hand, I do sort of sympathise with Arteta in terms of he doesn't have a great forward line to work with. I think Arteta can get Arsenal over the line, but the evidence suggests he can't. That's the way I'd look at it. I hope he can, and I really hope he can win the league at some stage in the next year or so, but it's not looking likely at the moment. And until Arsenal get those forward players in, you just can't win, a league with Havertz and Jesus as your strikers. One's injury prone, the other one is a good squad player and can start 3-4 games in a row, but not for the entire season. In your opinion, what's the lowest current rank that has a good chance of ending up in the top 1,000 by the end of the season? I mean, look, if you have an exceptional end to the campaign, it's still possible, right? I mean, I don't know exactly. I haven't checked the differences in terms of ranks and stuff like that and the margins, but yeah, top 700k, it's still possible, but very unlikely. The same goes for my case. I'd need an outstanding end to the season to do that. How do I fit in Mbeumo when having Salah, Palmer, Semenyo, Ahmad, and Gordon? Well, in a couple of weeks' time, you could do Gordon to Mbeumo. That might work very well for you around Gameweek 25, 26. I wouldn't be selling Salah or Palmer. Ahmad and Semenyo are decent budget midfielders. Maybe sell one of them, but yeah, it all depends on your budget. I feel like Arteta is solely responsible for us being in the title conversation for 3 seasons running. He's never invested in that one killer striker like we had with Aubameyang. Yeah, I agree. Aubameyang, by the way. It's just my head's gone. I need to call this a day. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt because throughout all of those title charges, Arsenal haven't had like an outstanding clinical striker and finisher. But is he part of the problem? Is he the one saying we don't need one? Let's just play with a false 9 or play with Havertz up front? Maybe. There have been some misuses of budget. I do question Arteta's signings in the forward line and the midfield. Trossard, good stopgap signing. Jorginho as well, but they shouldn't be starting a lot of games for Arsenal now. They should be squad players at best. But yeah, I do think Arteta can get Arsenal over the line, but I don't really blame the critics for suggesting he can't, because the evidence does point towards the fact that he hasn't been able to do so. But yeah, I do think in the last few years, Arteta has gotten Arsenal a lot of wins with his tactics and a lot of his decisions, which people question, and they ended up being quite good, like Ben White being signed, moving him to right back. Also, David Raya this season, of course. Arsenal needed another striker since COVID. Could use Eddie Nketiah about now. Nah, I don't think so. I don't think Eddie Nketiah is good enough. I mean, it's a body. It's another option. He scored a few goals off the bench 2 years ago, but Arsenal need a quality striker. It's as simple as that. The style of play sometimes baffles me. That ruthless team you had in the start of the 2023 season for me to win the league this and last season. Yeah, 2 years ago, Arsenal were electric. They started games on fire. Last season, they ended strongly and had more control. This year, it seems very pragmatic. Arteta's done very well by Arsenal. He can win a title and probably deserves to. Yeah, look, everyone has different opinions, and I get that. Football is a game of opinions and ultimately of results. And because Arteta hasn't won a league title and only one FA Cup and 3 Community Shields, it's not great reading, is it? Ultimately, that's not really enough for a club like Arsenal, but it's been a very poor cycle for the Gunners in the last 2 decades. Hi Dylan, how do I sleep at night knowing I have no Forest for tomorrow? Well, that's a great question, to be fair. If you've got Palmer and you've got some good players remaining, take some solace in that, I guess. How long until Liverpool win the league? Doesn't really matter, mate. It's just a question of when. I think they will drop points and slip up, but no one's going to capitalise. Gameweek 33, Gameweek 34, I guess. That's what 130 points behind looks like. Worst season so far. Never been outside top 200k. I am 130 far from it. When to start, take some risks now instead of waiting for the last 3 game weeks. I get that. It's never... I know FPL is for fun and we just play casually, so to speak, but yeah, when it's not going for you, it can be very frustrating, and I'm feeling it myself. It has just not been enjoying the season that much, and it's really the last month that has halted my progress, but there's still a long way to go and a lot of ground to be made. 36 points, still 5 left. Yeah, definitely not too bad. It's looking very good. My forwards are Mateta, Jackson, and Isak. I'm pretty set on transferring Jackson out to get Boomer in the midfield, but I don't know who to get in for that striker spot. Gakpo, but if you need a cheaper option, I mean, Chris Wood is a set and forget choice, but you did miss the best fixture, and now Forest have some poor games until Gameweek 29 against Ipswich Town. Thank you, Frankie. Good luck to you as well. Joao Pedro is JP. It's just to really fund the other move, basically. No Forest keeping you up. What kind of season is this, isn't it? Can Man City finish in the top 4? They can, but they can. They really can, to be fair. It's just their defense is awful. Jackson has great fixtures. Taking him out is very painful. Yeah, but he's also painful to own. But I get what you're saying. I think he'll do fairly well against Wolves and or West Ham. Yeah, no worries, mate. Yeah, it's just the character limit is very frustrating. I had to put JP, basically. People more like is 10:25 and Dylan has been going on over 2 hours. No, it's just, I'll be honest, my brain's probably fried at the moment, but I do appreciate the comments coming in. Are Arsenal will be remembered for second place team? No. Unfortunately, no one remembers second place. It's about winning. But there were some great moments and memories, of course. But yeah, it's just 2 years ago, it was a breath of fresh air. Great football, exciting. New team on the block. No one expected it. But the expectations are there now. The pressure is. But yeah, football's not that simple, unfortunately. Mohit says, I honestly feel that Arteta expects Salah-like production from Saka, who's still growing. Arteta's made us defensively sound, no goalkeeper issues. These were all major issues, even his mentor, Pep, had a striker. Yeah, there was that one season when City won without a striker, a false nine like Foden. But City were brilliant and the competition were nowhere near those levels. It's a bit different here, isn't it? But yeah, I'm not sure if he expects Salah-like production from Saka, but he was performing to really high levels and getting consistent output until the injury. But yeah, Saka carried that attack. He really did. And now there's no escaping it. Arsenal need some forwards. Arteta has no experience managing senior team before getting the Arsenal job. Yeah, but then again, look at Lionel Scaloni at Argentina. No senior experience. He wins a quadruple. You know, Finalissima, 2 Copa Americas and a World Cup. And sometimes you need to give a manager a chance. Look at Pep. You know, when he first came into Barcelona, only had experience with the under-21s, then he wins the sextuple in his first season, albeit we're talking about a generational manager. Yeah, 6 weeks for Solanke. That was pointed out by some viewers, thank you. Yeah, it's terrible news. I recommended him recently. Time to adjust that now. From 1.1 million to 500k in 2 weeks. Yeah, really good rank rise. I'm hoping for something similar, but it's not looking good for me. Bench Gabriel for Robinson, was pissed with binary returns, doing Jackson to Mateta. Yeah, I would have done the same thing. I said in the deadline stream earlier, Robinson in for Gabriel, looked good. Jackson to Mateta, looks very promising on paper. Do you have any second or third favourite teams in the Premier League? Nah. I used to have a soft spot for Newcastle, I guess, but not anymore. So not really. Yeah, sure thing, Easy 99. Also look at Jose, got to give people a chance. Yeah, look, you have to start from somewhere, don't you? And Jose Mourinho, of course, was... well, he came out of nowhere. Then, of course, made that big move to Porto, won the Champions League, and the rest is history. It's the most unpredictable Mohit, maybe. You could be right. It's just I kind of feel a bit like meh about this season in general, especially about the title. But maybe for the top 4, you're right. You know, Man City and all the other teams you're mentioning there. Arsenal could also be pulled into that. Thank you, Ori. Love to talk with you, Arsenal. I think you are one of the least biased Arsenal fans. But in another context, when is the new Formula 1 season starts? It always starts in March. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Hopefully F1 is more entertaining than football. Yeah, look, there are a lot of sound Arsenal fans, by the way. More sound than me. It's just... on Twitter and YouTube and stuff, you do get, obviously, these volatile reactions and these kind of clickbait, you know, people would say, oh, Arteta out, Wenger out, and stuff like that. And it's not always like that. Are you making any use of your fantasy videos? Well, yeah, that's the plan. That's what I always do. But, yeah, I need to find time to do that. Tomorrow and Monday is the plan. I'll try to do that as soon as possible, but I also need to get more research done. Pulisic injured, for example, a lot of things to cover. Stay tuned. Yeah, I think Mbeumo's a good transfer in. Is now the best time definitively? Maybe not, but I like Mbeumo long term. Yeah, still alive. Not for long though, don't worry. Tempted to bench Palmer next week? Nah, not against City. Nah. Not for me. Point to prove against his former club. City are still shaky defensively. Yeah, and obviously he's always on penalties, so I'm quite happy to start Palmer next week, just not to captain maybe. Time to sell Timber and Raya. I still like having one Arsenal defender with the upcoming fixtures. You know, you've got Wolves away, Man City at home, West Ham, Leicester. But yeah, I went off Raya recently. I might go off Gabriel tonight or tomorrow, but that's only to buy Trent. The last 2 game weeks, I've changed my captain at deadline, Isak to Palmer, and this week Palmer to Salah. Yeah, that's very frustrating, especially if Palmer goes on to get a massive haul. I should have stuck with Isak last week. I would have been much more positive about how things have gone recently. I would play Mbeumo and Wood versus anyone. Yeah. I think in most cases, I think that's pretty much the right call. Chris Wood has been brilliant this season. Should I get Konate in with Trent for the double game week? He's a nice way of covering Liverpool defensively, but you've also got Gakpo up front, you've got Van Dijk, and Arne Slot potentially for you. Will Hall play against Southampton? Yeah, I think he will, but slightly concerning that early sub. Yeah, Mbeumo should have scored. He was quite wasteful today. Thank you, Mohit. Hit the like button to show some appreciation. Yeah, what is it? 2 hours 30 almost. Yeah, and earlier today we had a 2-hour 50-minute deadline stream. And of course, UCL Fantasy, there's going to be like 3 videos for Matchday 7 and the deadline stream alongside all the usual FPL content. So a lot of stuff headed your way. Are there any players that are going under the radar for you worth looking at? Well, before today, Mateta was going under the radar. I talked about him a lot in the deadline stream. Any other players going under the radar? It's a good question. I have to think about that, but my brain is probably fried at the moment. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. Any players going under the radar? I mean, there are. I mean, that's probably why I can't think of them. But yeah, I have to say Mateta has been in the last couple of weeks, and now everyone's going to talk about him. He was actually recommended as a purchase in my recent Transfers podcast. As an Argentinian, can the team be able to operate without Messi if he retires soon? They can, but it's going to be difficult. I mean, Messi has that X factor. He takes 2-3 players out of the game. Even if he plays poorly, they're focused on him. Then the others pop up, like at the time Di Maria, Lautaro Martinez. But it's going to be more difficult. And ultimately, every cycle comes to an end, unfortunately. Josh sold Raya out for Alisson, tired of the 1 goal conceded per game shenanigans. Same here. I sold him today for sells. Let's see how it ends up going. May take a punt on Gakpo for a few weeks. I'm also looking at that myself, but Darwin's brace off the bench doesn't help too much. He's not necessarily competing with Gakpo for the same spot, but it could also push Diaz to the left, and then he competes with Gakpo and they take minutes off each other. Hey, Dylan Rogers, the Clove at Gameweek 25 looks very nice. Also concerned about benching Wood and Gabriel for Palmer and Kirkes this week. I wouldn't bench Chris Wood. He got 8 points in the reverse fixture, scoring a penalty against Brighton. And yeah, Kirkes, he's been brilliant all season. But against Forest, I'd be happy to bench. Yeah, Harry Wilson, yeah. I've only mentioned him in passing in deadline streams, to be fair, but he's gotten consistent starts and he's getting some good returns. Thank you to Stepaki. You are right. I am going off for dinner. At the moment, I probably would avoid double-ups. I think Arsenal have good fixtures, but not the form and too many injuries. Liverpool have got the double, maybe a double for that, but that's it. Nottingham Forest have poor fixtures or kind of mixed bag anyway, so I think one's enough. So honestly, the answer is probably none, only for a double game week like Liverpool, and that's it. Imagine Darwin starts the Ipswich game on the back of his brace today. Well, it is possible, and it rewards a very clutch performance off the bench. Bowen is going under the radar, that's true. Yeah, I think under Graham Potter he'll do well. Once he's back from injury, that is a massive boost for West Ham, and he's definitely one to look at FPL-wise, maybe a Gordon replacement around Game Week 25-26. Yeah, Elanga, true, and I did talk about skipping him recently. I was probably wrong about that. The underlying stats aren't good. Maybe he'll drop off soon, and I think with the fixtures turning for the worse, it's possible. Who would you bench for Mateta, Ahmad, Rogers, JP? At the moment, I would bench Amad Diallo. Is it worth replacing Pickford with Kepa from Game Week 25? I probably would stick with Pickford, mate. I'm not a big fan of Kepa. I know Bournemouth have been good, but I'd rather cover them defensive with Howson or Kirkes. I'm just not a big fan of Kepa. And Pickford's a set and forget option, really. Gibbs White has been really good too. Yeah, that's true. Bonus points machine. Yeah, there's some good names mentioned by you lot. I think, yeah, Harry Wilson, Elanga. Yeah, some good shouts there. So last one, because, yeah, I'm going to call it a day. Otherwise, I'm going to be here forever. And no use of your fantasy videos will be recorded. And I won't eat dinner and I'll cry. Hey, Dylan, thoughts on the team? Raya, Gabriel, Trent, Munoz, Salah, Palmer, Rogers, Gordon, Jackson, Wood, Isak, bench, Fabianski, Hall, Enzo, Mikalenko. You're in a good place. You've got that ideal Liverpool double up, so to speak. And you could go for the third one. And it's entirely up to you whether you go for Arne Slot, do you go for Gakpo? I think Jackson to Gakpo looks very simple. Just be mindful that Gakpo's minutes might be less assured now after what Darwin did off the bench today. But in terms of transfers, nothing's really screaming out to me this week. You could even roll, and you could start Hall. Well, I would start Hall over Jackson next week for sure. And yeah, you can do Jackson to Gakpo or go something a little bit different. Downgrade him to a cheaper forward and then use the money for Arne Slot as your assistant manager. That would be my kind of take on it. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and also your votes, the final votes here. Gabriel and Jackson to Trent and Gakpo for a -4 wins. Only 22% recommend Kanate and JP, Joao Pedro, for a -4, which also means Arne Slot in Gameweek 24. So very interesting stuff. I will be hopefully making some transfers very soon and not deliberating too much over the coming days. If you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe for new. That's a 2 hour 30 stream today, or now, and there was a 2 hour 51 earlier for the deadline stream earlier. I keep saying earlier, my head's finished. UCL fantasy videos will be headed your way, the best limitless and wildcard teams, the team selection, and of course the deadline stream on Tuesday. And there's going to be a lot of comments and questions and people watching, which is always good to see, and hopefully we'll make some big strides towards new goals this year. See you later, fast there. Thank you, Tariq. I do apologize. I want to cover every single question, but yeah, sometimes it's impossible. Let's try to do some quick fire ones. Great stream. Thanks, Dylan. Thank you, Ashwin. Always a pleasure seeing you. Good day, Dalha. See you, Insane Gamer. Ahmad or Kluivert. I still prefer Ahmad overall, but I don't mind a Bournemouth attacker from Game Week 25-26 onwards. Am I the only one who always tries to arrange the squad using kit colours? I typically do that, but I think recently I've just been doing so poorly, I just don't give a crap anymore. Yeah, look, Davis, you can watch on the playback and also leave a comment. There's also the Discord server, FPL League Draft Town, and Spotify. Bourne Allison a few weeks back, paid off today with a 9-pointer. Nice one. And he's got great fixtures coming up. You should see a clean sheet or two over the next 3 matches. Dylan, I've got 1.2 million in the bank with Raul, Wood, and Isak up front. Who would you be looking to remove and replace them with? I think Raul is the one to sell. Isak and Chris Wood are absolutely fine to keep. Unless it's your only route of going to Gakpo and you really want him, or Mateta, which is obviously going really well for those that invested. But yeah, if I'm looking at your team, I do like Chris Wood and Isak, to be quite honest with you. So if you had to make a move, Wood to Mateta or Gakpo, I guess. How much do you rate France Colapinto? I think he's a nice skilled driver, but also a bit risky. He had a great start, but he did tail off towards the end. He is now the reserve driver for Alpine, I believe. So yeah, hopefully he gets another chance. He was a breath of fresh air in Formula 1, to be honest. With Spurs under crisis of injury, will be likely to target players against Spurs team? Possibly, but also their attackers are quite appealing. Maddison should get more minutes, Johnson, and Kulusevski as a false 9, which was very promising in pre-season. Which goalkeeper are you planning to get for Double Gameweek? None, mate. I just bought Cells today. I made my bed there. If I had to buy one, it'd be Pickford over Alisson. So yeah, Maddison or Kulusevski, is it? Or no, Ahmad or Kluivert. Yeah, Ahmad. Thank you for Danny. I'll see you soon, Ori. Go already. First season playing FPL. Yeah, it's a very good rank, considering you're new to it, learning things there on the job, so to speak. All chips available. Very, very solid. So see everyone, if you've got any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section down below. Keep your eyes peeled for more FPL and use fantasy content. I wish you all the best of luck for the rest of Game Week 22 and of course the rest of the season. And I'll see you very soon. Take care.